It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, February 17th. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. Let's get after it. We got a whole show planned for you of engaging conversations, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up a little bit later in the show, Rory O'Neill's going to join us because it's President's Day. Happy President's Day to you. Bill, do you have a favorite president?
None of the above. I'm a little,
I'll go way back. I'm a Lincoln guy. For me, I watch all the biographies on Lincoln. I just always fascinating guy.
For me, it's some of the early presidents, the Washington, get into Adams and a few of the others, because of the time and the era about who they were, what they had come through, and why. That's a part that I find fascinating. But as far as a favorite, I don't think I necessarily have a favorite.
I could see you being a little bit of a Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah. Oh, I like Jefferson a lot. Yeah, but the thing for me is that, again, I have this distrust of authority, and so having a favorite president seems to cut against normally how
dude,
it's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Speaking of that, I was just catching up because there's so much to catch up on.
Yeah,
the Saturday Night Live stuff. So I finally, on the way in this morning, caught up on the 60 Minutes German authorities kicking down doors to arrest people for posting memes. Oh my gosh, dude, that was, speaking of authority, that was crazy.
Yeah, that is a little interesting, their approach to speech, but they have a reason to be a little more worried about it than I think most other countries. To be fair, there's some stuff that has happened in the past that they're trying to prevent from happening again. So I can understand why they may go a little bit further, and their laws are much different than ours. But then again, inside of Germany, from what I understand, truth is still an absolute defense. So even if you are holding anybody up for ridicule, etc., if it's true, you're okay.
You can't use words like jerk.
Yeah. Well, again, if it's true, there is. And the idea being this is, let's say that you are in a parking lot, and someone comes up and starts yelling at you for something or another, and you identify and say, that person was a complete and total jerk to me, and you post it online, because of the behavior of the other person, that is going to be allowed inside of Germany. But you can't just disagree with someone and say, oh, you're just being a jerk. There's some issues there as far as where that goes over the line.
There's so much to talk about there. We'll definitely cover that today, because J.D. Vance in his European speech, we'll be talking about that. We're going to talk with John Decker, White House correspondent, about the emergency meeting being held in Paris to deal with Ukraine. All of that. Plus, businesses, particularly restaurants in Denver, are literally at their wits' end. It is now like do or die time for the mayor to step up and fix things in the city of Denver, or these restaurants are going to shut down. Letter going out to the mayor, covered by the Denver Gazette. We'll get into that as well. And government fraud. Is there evidence of it coming? Elon Musk believes so. We'll be showing you some examples of that. I want to bring in Blake Olson here, because Blake, we got to talk USA Canada hockey.
Wasn't that awesome? Unbelievable.
I mean, first 9 seconds, there were 3 fights.
Yeah, after they booed the national anthem. It was in Montreal. So one of the lefty cities, Toronto and Montreal, the worst in Canada. They booed the national anthem, and then USA starts 3 fights, and they just proceed to just open up a can, if you will, on Canada in this team of four nations face-off tournament.
God bless Canada.
Awesome,
God bless hockey. God bless hockey players.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It reminds me of when the comedians were just done with the stupid woke crap, and they just started to lay into the people that were doing this stuff. And
Absolutely.
I think I saw a video. I think I retweeted it on X over the weekend that this guy, he lights a cigarette. He's wearing the USA hockey jersey. He lights a cigarette. He grabs a beer, smokes the cigarette, drinks the beer at the same time, and then plays like rock and roll on his guitar. And it just feels kind of like the 70s just are back.
Absolutely.
Oh,
and I know 2 or 3 former Avalanche players that everyone would know that have actually become U.S. citizens. And they're so patriotic, man, for America. And I heard through the grapevine that one of them was just loving every second of this. I mean, it's hard because the Canadian hockey players, a lot of them are from the kind of the country, rural areas,
right?
And they're just great people, man, just great dudes. And then just like in America, the cities are the kind of leftist havens, and their values don't coincide. But man, it didn't matter on Sunday. It was awesome.
Bill, did you see some of the images of the fights?
A little bit, yeah. Didn't watch too much of it.
Is it kind of refreshing to have a little fisticuffs coming back to things?
No, not necessarily. No. The thing is, I understand.
He's a soccer player. Come on.
No, but a soccer.
Billy was always kind of the guy, though, that would throw down in a game.
Yeah, but we had a lot of fights there. And there was a fight.
You might like it a little
There was a
bit.
Fight this weekend. There was a fight this weekend in one of the soccer matches in the end of the Liverpool game. So
who slapped who?
No, there were punches and stuff like that.
Come on.
Yeah. The thing
there
for
were
me,
no fists in that.
Well, the thing is, I mean, at least it's not like the NFL where you punch someone in their helmet.
That's
just ridiculous.
That's pretty
That's
stupid.
just really dumb. The thing for me is I understand and I appreciate the idea of having the enforcer, but I'm not certain it's necessarily effective anymore. I'm not certain that the enforcer stops things from happening. Yeah,
I'm right there with it.
Yeah,
I don't like hockey fights.
If it was,
that's what
but
in this
case, did what it was supposed, if it did what it was supposed to do, then I could maybe acquiesce a little bit more and say, okay, keep the fighting in hockey. But it doesn't tamp down on the plays that the other team is doing. So I disagree with it. I think there are other ways that you can enforce that. They can enforce that kind of a thing. And some of our things like hard checks and some other things, going after, hitting their superstar really hard. There's some other things that you can do on the ice. But it's entertaining.
I'll tell you, I'm no fan of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
But the one moment where I was like, I kind of like this guy was when he was like, Corn Pop and I would have gone out back and finished this guy off. I was like, I'm not advocating for violence, but
too bad it wasn't true.
A little throwdown every once in a while, I think sets things straight.
But that wasn't even about hockey. It was
about hockey. But
that was about Canada.
I'm not a big
America.
hockey fan in the sense like I follow it, but
right. Oh, it was awesome.
These
Dude,
guys,
it was
these
great
guys
TV.
boo the national anthem.
Yeah.
And then America's like, we're not going to write a strongly worded letter. We're going to get out there on the ice and throw down a little bit.
Thank you.
And I thought it was not good. Every once in a while, throw down.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Billy. I mean, in NHL, I'm like, whatever, but in this case, man, let's go. It was awesome.
Yeah, I got nothing against it on this one. Why not? I understand why the Americans would be upset, but I understand why the Canadians are upset as well.
Yeah,
we had a trade agreement with them, and then they decide to yank up the price of the goods and then cut down some of their ability to export. And
has Trump said anything about this? I
don't think
so. Trudeau posted about it. He thought it was great. He hasn't
said anything yet.
Trudeau thought it was great that the American anthem got booed.
Yeah, and we had I don't know if we talked about it last week. I think we did, and you choose the news that they asked at youth hockey tournaments for the Canadians to stop booing the national anthem because they're like, those are American kids. Don't boo the American kids. But yeah, ever since he announced the tariffs, every single American national anthem in hockey has been booed, with the exception of little kids in Canada. Yeah.
Oh, it's fun. It's just Canada. Whatever.
Do you think it's going to become the 51st state?
I don't think it'll become the 51st state, but I think they're going to do what Trump wants them to do. They don't have any choice. in my opinion.
I don't know. I think they have a choice. I don't think they're becoming the 51st state. I think that's a pipe dream that Trump is using just to troll. And it's not real, because you can't annex the entire country unless he views that what Putin is doing in Ukraine is being acceptable. Then I guess you can annex entire portions of a country and just keep them. So that would be interesting. So we'll see what happens.
We may have a Napoleon on our hands. So
yeah, and I wonder who on the show here mentioned that a couple of months ago. Huh. One of these three people talked about. I don't remember. It's weird. It's been a long couple of months. I don't remember which one of us said something like that. One of us did, though.
It was the soccer fan.
Could be.
Oh, we'll continue now. Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
All right, thanks a lot, Jeff and Billy. 19 degrees and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 37 on President's Day today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, a missing CU Boulder student's body may have been found. The Boulder County Sheriff's Office said they were notified that a woman's body had been found near the 40-mile marker of Boulder Canyon. The woman matched the description of the 18-year-old Megan Trussell, who went missing from her residence hall on February 9th. The identification is pending confirmation from the coroner's office, as well as the cause and manner of her death. The search for a missing snowboarder is expected to resume today in Eagle County. A Denver area man was reported missing Friday afternoon. The Vail Ski Patrol and Vail Mountain Rescue are assisting with the search for the 26-year-old named Connor Gill. The Eagle County Sheriff's Office says that today's search will be slightly smaller due to heavy snow and the need to let searchers rest. Police investigating the deaths of two men in a shooting in Aurora last night in Generals Park. There were reports of a domestic violence incident between a 63-year-old man and a 45-year-old woman. Police found a 31-year-old dead with a gunshot wound. The 63-year-old man also suffered a gunshot wound and had to be taken to a hospital for treatment. He later died from his injuries. The woman was taken to the hospital, but authorities say she was not involved in the shooting.
I think it's great for the country. Our country is doing well again, and we have spirit all over the world. There's spirit again. We brought it back, and it's been less than 4 weeks. So you'll see what we do in a little period of time. It's going to only get better, but this is very exciting.
What a patriotic day at Daytona Sunday. 47 was there. Second time he's done this. The Beast. His car was the pace car, and the drivers were loving it.
He's going to pace the field? Yep. Love it. Gosh, it's awesome.
You know, Mike, people ask me, do you miss it? Are you jealous of those competitors out there? Today, right now, I am. I would love to be in this Daytona 500 field out there competing today. This is just so special.
I think that was Jeff Gordon. Not
certain. It's so fun.
Isn't that cool?
It's fun to have a president that's kind of a character out there doing this type of stuff, going to the Super Bowl, going to the Daytona 500, having fun.
Yep.
And
they treated him like a president. Imagine that.
The other guy would just wander up to a Delaware beach and sit on his butt.
Here's DJT talking to the field and the drivers as he went around the track on the radio.
This is your favorite president. I'm a big fan. I am a really big fan of you people that you do this. I don't know, but I just want you to be safe. You're talented people, and you're great people and great Americans. Have a good day. Have a lot of fun, and I'll see you later.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. It was awesome. It was so cool. Your favorite president. But did you notice how NASCAR, I love it, DJT gets like 6 seconds in the Super Bowl. Oh, yeah, and the president happens to be here, and they do the interview with him. But at Daytona, NASCAR, man, they had, probably 15 minutes with shots of Trump. It was awesome.
That is so fun. America's back, baby.
America is back. It was a big win for America. So as we talked about earlier, 4 nations face-off semifinals, USA, Canada, hockey. The national anthem is booed in Montreal, and then USA starts 3 fights, and here's some of it. Here are the fights.
Sam Bennett, Brady Kachuk. What a tilt.
And some goals. And they were playing Freebird the whole time, at least after the goals. And hey, you know what? That's what hockey's all about. Between the nations, man, that was some great entertainment there. Ukrainian president.
I gotta before you move off hockey. Is Russia still a good hockey team? Like as
far as I know,
when my mind goes to American hockey, it goes to the Miracle. In 1981, I think that was. Are they still good?
They're not as good as they were during the Soviet Union because they have fewer countries to draw from. So it would be the idea that we draw only the American team from East Coast states. So when you cut off part of what the USSR used to be, they're not as powerful because they don't have as many places to pull things from.
That's another reason to just take over Canada.
Right.
We can have all their hockey guys.
Well,
on
that's
our
one of the
teams
reasons. I think that's a good idea. And then they wouldn't have to play this game like, I want to stay in Canada. No, I want to move to Phoenix and play hockey.
And then we'll pass a law that if you boo the national anthem, you get kicked off the team, or if you kneel, you get kicked off the team, and then we'll make all those Canadians stand for our national anthem.
Exactly. And now we know why Russia was invading Ukraine, and all these ways. It wasn't just the bioweapons and what NATO has done. Let's see here. Ukrainian President Zelensky. Oh yeah, he says his country won't recognize any of its territory occupied by Russia as a part of Russia. Zelensky said no amount of negotiations will get Ukraine to change its borders. DJT said it's unlikely Ukraine will get back all of the territory it's lost as a part of a peace deal. And 47 said that, Putin is actually ready for all this to end.
I think he wants to stop fighting. I see that. We spoke long and hard. Steve Witkoff was with him for a very extended period, like about 3 hours. I think he wants to stop fighting. They have a big, powerful machine. You understand that. And they defeated Hitler and they defeated Napoleon. They've been fighting a long time. They've done it before. And but I think he'd like this. I think he would like to stop fighting.
There's just so much stuff going on. It's day 500 since October 7th, Hamas attack on Israel. Everything is happening with that. We'll have more on that throughout the morning. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. Here's some profound just wisdom from Kamala Khan, who is on Broadway backstage talking to the actors.
But I believe we fight for something, not against it.
Yes, word. She fights for something, not against, because she never fought against. Wow, we were so close to disaster with her. Thank God. 16 in Lakewood, 17 in Aurora, 19 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue the Philly mayor on Friday at the parade for the Eagles.
Reminded us all through their excellence that nothing is possible when we work together as a team.
It's like the Jeff and Billy show. Nothing is possible when we work together as a team.
Reminded us all through their excellence that nothing is possible when we work together as a team.
You wonder why these cities are just crap holes. You can't even put a sentence together. I stumble over my words all the time. Anyway.
Same here. But I'm not the mayor. I can do that. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Enjoy today's relatively mild temperatures because Arctic air is going to back westward into Colorado's plains and Front Range areas tomorrow and especially by tomorrow night and Wednesday. Watch for some areas of fog early, otherwise partly cloudy, highs mid to upper 30s today. There will be a chance of snow showers later today and snow showers tonight. Lows will be upper single digits to low teens. Highs only teens and 20s Tuesday, cloudy with a few snow showers. A bit of light snow. Very cold Tuesday night. Lows will be single digits to near zero. Highs only lower 20s with a chance of snow showers Wednesday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, we're going to continue coming up here in just a second. Rory O'Neill, as we talk about President's Day, who it honors, and how did it come about? You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. The U.S. Army has been redirecting hundreds of millions of dollars it collected for soldiers living in barracks away from food services under Joe Biden, according to a report. $460 a month is automatically deducted from the paychecks of service members. The money, which is essentially a tax on troops, is supposed to help soldiers with food costs. But according to a Military.com investigation, of the $225 million collected from their basic allowance payments, $151 million was directed elsewhere. It's not clear what the redirected money is being spent on. Representative Jill Tokuda from Hawaii said the data should be investigated, saying stealing food money from our soldiers is not how we achieve military readiness. The fact that at least $151 million was collected from soldiers and not spent on food as required demands not just an immediate investigation, but swift accountability. The Army has been struggling to feed its soldiers with only 2 of 10 dining halls open at Fort Cavazos in Texas in the summer of 2023, and Fort Carson in Colorado was forced to serve soldiers meals of just lima beans and toast as of last November. This, as a new report revealed, New York spent $22 billion on housing, food, cars, and loans for illegal migrants. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's President's Day. Who are we honoring? How did it come about? Joining us, national correspondent Rory O'Neill has the story. Good morning, Rory. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, thanks.
Happy Washington's birthday.
Washington's birthday, Lincoln. They're all mixed in there, aren't they?
Well, under federal law, it's still just considered Washington's birthday. We call it President's Day in a lot of different states. They merge the holidays, really, starting in the 1970s. But it dates back to, after George Washington died in 1799, they sort of celebrated his birthday every year. And then they finally made it official in 1879, making Washington's birthday a holiday for February 22nd. But what they did was in the 1960s and 70s, they created this Uniform Monday Holiday Act. So that meant that Washington's birthday and Columbus Day, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, they all became Monday holidays in order to, pump up some economic revenue, to give people extra time off, and to actually make sure there's less absenteeism on the job.
There you go. And it combines it right with Sunday, so the weekend just continues there. Now, how does Abraham Lincoln fit into this at all? Wasn't his birthday somewhere around here?
February 12th is Lincoln's birthday. So they're 10 days apart. Some states, like Illinois, still celebrate it as a holiday. But it sort of varies by state as to how this is recognized. Some states, there is school today. Others, it's not. I just got to note the local courthouse here is putting out on social media, hey, if you got your jury summons for Monday, you got to be here today. So it's all over the map, except we can pretty much be sure about the federal guidelines. There's no mail service today. Wall Street's closed. No federal offices are open. But as it relates to your town, whether or not your bank is open, the big chain banks are closed, but your local bank or credit union may be open. So assume it's closed, but don't rule it out altogether.
My kids are out today. They're still sleeping in. Rory O'Neill from NBC News. Thanks so much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bill, I kind of feel like President's Day, I wish it would go back to Washington's Day. President's Day is just so, look, there's like you pointed out, first part of this hour, there's a lot of presidents out there I don't want to celebrate. So when you lump them all together, I'm kind of like, meh. Washington, though, Lincoln, those are my boys, man. I could celebrate them. A little Washington Lincoln holiday.
I'm going to hijack the show here a little bit.
Please.
Can even tell you about this one. Did you see about the idea of creating Trump's birthday and Flag Day as a holiday?
Fantastic.
I love the fact that he has to be given his own.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and
he does. He's the next one that should be on Mount Rushmore.
That is ridiculous. Oh, and the funny thing is, the lawmaker that proposed it tries to create a veneer of celebrating Flag Day and then proposes it as Trump's birthday and Flag Day. Like, hang on a sec here. And the other part that I find hilarious about this is the time in which we are moaning, complaining about these lazy government workers and that nobody wants to work. The one thing that they want to do is create another federal holiday.
Well, this is where I kind of broke with my conservative friends, because I love Juneteenth. I go down to 5 Points and celebrate Juneteenth. I take my kids down there. Yeah. We have fun, all that stuff. Let me help remind people why the Republican Party was formed: to end slavery. And then we get a holiday that allows us to go downtown and celebrate the end of slavery. I think Republicans should claim the whole thing. Hey, we got this holiday because of the work our party did. And they should own it and throw parties and take the day off and have nice barbecues and go celebrate with black, white, Hispanic, everybody together. I disagree with some of the conservative takes on it. I understand their critique. We have one Independence Day, but not everybody in America got to celebrate their independence.
No.
I guess from England, but they're still in slavery. We worked hard as a party to bring an end to slavery. We should celebrate.
That's a good point. I agree. I think Juneteenth doesn't get the the attention that it should. But President's Day, for me, I don't know. Do we need Washington's birthday, Lincoln's birthday? And then how do you decide? I mean, after we do Washington, Lincoln, it's kind of difficult to get towards anybody else. And then you're just creating 2 days at that point. Like, I don't know. I'm 6 of one, half a dozen of another. And part of it being because government offices being closed and schools being closed. I am not super excited. And again, I have a lot of people in my family that work in education. Not super excited about the number of days that school kids get off. Not real happy about that one. That's kind of an issue for me. The idea when we talk about achievement and some other stuff, and I think that we're focused in the wrong areas at times, but I think that also has something to do with it, is damn, they get a lot of days off. I don't know about your kids.
My house was very dark this morning.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about your kids. Your kids got the next 2 days off, today and tomorrow?
They had Friday. And
there we go. Yeah, because
today
it's today, and then tomorrow's a non-contact day.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Why can't today be the non-contact day? I don't know. No one's contacting anybody today. I'm a little surly on this one. Yeah, it's just they're always taking days off.
I think it would be more meaningful if we went back to just celebrate Washington's birthday. He's the first president. Yeah, Lincoln's my favorite, but Washington's the first. Did a fantastic job. Led in the Revolutionary War. Barely won that thing. Crosses the Delaware on Christmas Eve night, and takes the Hessians captive. I mean, what a great guy to celebrate. Because then he sets the standard and tone for all the other presidents we want to have in this country. It reminds us of that. Then everything's lumped together with President's Day, and half those guys I didn't like. Yeah. So
the part for
waters
me
it down
that I would love to see Washington elevated again is the part that I think is fascinating about him, that he walks away from a possible third term.
Yeah.
That idea at a time in which he could have set the standard, could have done anything that he wanted to, and that he decides the best thing is for him not to continue to have this amount of power. The way that person, President Washington, is wired in order to make that choice is fascinating, because that's a choice that I submit the vast majority of Americans would not be able to make. There's so many that would not be able to make that. And if you disagree with me, I reference you to Congress. Take a look over there. Look at all the people there that are obviously past their expiration date and still try to tell us they're there doing the people's work. Yeah.
Well, and I've spent quite a bit of time reading about Washington, visited Mount Vernon a number of times, taking the tours, talked to all that. The guy just loved to work outside. Yeah. I mean, that's partly why he died. He was out tending to his orchard in a cold snap in the winter, basically, and then developed an infection in his throat that swelled up so much they ended up dying.
Yeah.
I wonder, too, if he just got to the point where my wife and I joke about this all the time, because we're not in politics because our kids are at home.
Yeah.
And we're spending our time with our kids. We're like highly devoted to that because we watch political families fall apart all the time. And then we might get into politics later in life. But I joke with my wife all the time, we're going to hit our 50s and 60s and just go, I'd rather just hang out on the ranch.
Yeah, that is true.
And not do that. Washington loved that. Okay, so one of my favorite stories of Washington was his first battle.
Okay.
As a pretty senior lieutenant. He was serving in the English army. And this was in the French and American War. And there was a battle just outside Pittsburgh where they thought they were going to be able to take a fort relatively easily, but they came upon Native Americans and the French that fought like out of the bushes, and trees and forests and all that stuff, and ended up killing the general who was in charge of the English unit that was marching to take this fort. So upon his deathbed, he orders Washington to retreat, organize the troops, and do an organized retreat. He's like 23, 24, 25 at the time. And he rides into the battle. He has multiple horses shot from underneath him. He, at the end of the battle, will have 4 bullet holes in his jacket. That's how close he was to getting hit. He organizes a retreat, saves the lives of the English guys, and then that's when he really moves to national prominence in America, is not because of a victory, but because of an organized retreat.
That's interesting.
Isn't that fast? His first major battle was a loss.
Was run away.
Right.
Run away.
But he was able to save the lives. Right. But he was able to save the lives of his fellow Englishmen. And he starts to become known as this great leader because he was able to do so.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that crazy?
That is really neat.
Multiple horses shot out from underneath him, 4 bullet holes in his jacket. And then later years later, they would talk to the Indians that fought in that battle.
Yeah.
And they were like, it seemed like there was some form of protection on him.
Oh, wow.
They were trying to shoot him. They were trying to kill this guy. And bullets were just barely missing.
Just missing. Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, wow. As I love that story about Washington. It's a good reminder, too. You don't always win everything.
No, you don't. No, it's sometimes knowing when to retreat is very, very valiant.
But
note to anybody who's married. You understand that deeply. Do you ever? Yes.
Strategic retreat.
Yes, it's very, very smart at times. Yes, I'm sorry. It's totally my fault, dear. Yes, I was an idiot. I'm sorry. I will clean it up right away.
Oh, that was good. By the way, that was Valentine's Day week. I hope everybody had. Did you have a good Valentine's?
Yeah, it was nice. It was cool. We were somewhat mellow at home. I know that you took Mrs. Jeff out to the melting pot out in Littleton. How was that?
Take a picture of the receipt.
Yeah.
You do
app.
That.
Yeah, you got to use that app. So how was that? How was dinner?
Oh, it was fantastic.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
I purchased the deluxe romance package.
Ooh, what does that mean?
So, flower petals, dozen roses, little candles around the table.
Oh, how cute! Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, Melting Pot did great, folks.
That's
always
fantastic.
A good time. And we know it well enough. We even know the menu. We know the secret items on the menu.
Yeah.
So we can pull the server aside and go, hey, we know it's not on the menu, but could you look us? Absolutely happy to, Mr. and Mrs. Hunt.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They're great people there.
That is wonderful. I know that my wife got into a mood. It was on Saturday. She went down. I don't know if I'm sure you've seen it. The video at the First We Feast channel where they do hot ones, where they do the wing taste.
Sure, yeah.
So she was watching some of those, and she comes down about middle of the afternoon. She was upstairs because my son and I were doing something else in the front room, playing video games. And she's like, "I'm thinking wings tonight." I'm like, "Hey, all right," because we're just we did wings for Super Bowl, and I was like, "That's an interesting one." She goes, "I'm watching the hot ones thing. I'm doing this. These are hilarious.
I
want wings."
Is my
I'm like,
command.
Absolutely. So we've got a nice little place in the neighborhood that does well, and so I started off and asked her, "Well, how many? How about this?" And she's like, "How about more?" I'm like, "How about this? More?" I'm like, "All righty, we're going all in." Yeah, we went and we got 60 wings. Yeah, in addition
For
to
how many people?
Well, there were 6 of us, but still, that's 10 apiece. It's not bad. Yeah,
that's pretty good. We ordered 30 for our family.
Oh yeah, we did 60, and the part of it was we wanted to go from 50 to 60 because then we could choose 6 sauces. And so we're like, she's like, "No, but I want this one too." I'm like, all done, not a problem.
Well,
so did that one and then did
husband stars. Good job, Bill.
The other part is, here's the thing is, all I have to do is go pick it up. I don't have to make any of it. That is, this is great. This is a wonderful idea.
Pork loin turn out.
Oh yeah,
good Friday.
Yeah, that was Friday. The pork loin's fantastic. It's an easy one, and as I told Jeff off the air, I ran into something at the grocery store a number of months ago where it looked like it was a bottle with a huge hypodermic syringe attached to it. And if you know me, I'm like, I obviously have to buy this. How can I not? It would be a crime for me to walk by this thing with a huge needle on it and not buy it. I got to figure out what the hell this is. And it allows you to inject the marinade deep into the tissues of the muscle. And so it's really kind of nice to get inside there. And it does a really, really good job. So yeah, did that one. It came out well, but she knows how I do the pork tenderloin, so it was nothing spectacular. And then you do the vegetables, roast the vegetables, of course, in the oven, and then do the mashed potatoes that are super easy. So yeah, that was a nice one. It was nice. The part is that years ago, my wife was kind of like, "I'm already your Valentine. You don't have to really go over the top." I'm like, "Yes, I love you even more now." Yeah.
Well, it's President's Day. Would love to hear from you all. Your favorite president. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115, 720-819-5115. Lincoln, my favorite, Washington right there. And the movie with Daniel Day-Lewis on Lincoln was just, man, I could watch that all the time. The ending, when the other thing I loved about that movie was they show actually how politics is done, and they have the little secret group of people. Did you ever see that movie? Daniel Day-Lewis's Lincoln.
Oh yes, yeah, I did. Yeah, I had to think about it. Yeah, I did.
They've got the people in the room.
Yeah,
and they're going to go offer patronages to all the Democrats to support the amendment that was going to end slavery. And then it comes down to a final battle and all the stuff, and Lincoln's just sitting there reading to his son when you hear the church bells ring. Yeah. That is like one of the best moments in movie
Yeah, that was good.
Oh my gosh, it still gets me every time. So, who's your favorite president? It's President's Day. Give us a call. I especially want to hear from all you Jimmy Carter fans. All right, so speaking of winning out there, I want to talk to you about my friend Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-America. That matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everybody involved in the case. Dan Caplis, while a great guy, solid on the values, right there with us. What really matters is that he's a winner in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted that he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here it is. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. 2775. Discuss the libertarian take on Lincoln. They don't like him. Yeah, I know. I've heard some of those arguments. We're the founders deists. No, some were. I mean, like mostly Jefferson, but most were Bible-believing Christians. All right. We'll get to all this. Feel free to call us and join the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back. Jeff and Bill Show. That time of the morning.
Yes. It is that time of the morning where we take our careers in our hands and make some questionable decisions, something we call You Choose the News. Yes, it's America's favorite fake radio news game show. I've spent moments this morning scouring the interwebs to find really, really dumb stories about us humans. It's remarkably easy. And then I gave them even more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this fake radio news game show. Why? Because nobody in charge wakes up until 7 o'clock. So we have a little bit of time here to be silly and waste valuable airtime, because this is what happens when Jeff and I are left unsupervised. Note to our parents. Yes, there are still stories you haven't heard. Okay, that's for another day, though. Alrighty, Blake Olson is going to join us from the newsroom. Gentlemen, here are your stories this morning. Headline number 1, hidden heritage. Headline number 2, police unable to crack the case. Headline number 3, have you checked the basement? And headline number 4, kids today have no work ethic. Mr. Hunt,
let's
your
check
choice,
the
sir.
basement first.
Yeah, we got to make sure to check the basement for anything you might have lost. And recently, in England, they were going around and they're going to demolish an apartment building, and they figured, hey, or no, I'm sorry, it was an office building, and they said, hey, maybe we should go around and check the basement. Oh my God, is it that lost basilica we've been looking all over London for? A basilica that is more than 2,000 years old was found in the basement of an office building on Grace Church Street that was about to be demolished and redeveloped. Basically, it's a wall. They found walls made of limestone from Kent. It formed an imposing building. The basilica would have been about 20 meters long, 20 meters wide, and about 12 meters high. It is the heart of Roman London at the time.
Wow.
The basilica is basically a town hall. It would have been a big open market square with a range of shops and offices around the outside. It's a place you would come to do business and also get your court cases sorted out, pay your taxes. It's where laws were made, decisions were made about London at the time, and also about the rest of the country. Wow. They believe it was built right around 80 AD, just a few decades after the Romans invaded Britain, and found in Londinium. That's the Roman name for the city at the time. And it actually is technically only a mile square, the original foundation of London. But yes, they're going to knock down this building. They found a 2,000-year-old basilica in the basement.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? There's nothing that cool in my basement.
So they go down into the basement, and have you seen images of it?
Yeah,
see what it looks like?
They started breaking it, and yeah, they've got small walls. They're about 3-4 feet high, and they've got pieces of it, but they're like, oh my God, as they started to get underneath where there's basements in the kind of a sub-basement area, they're like, this is crazy. How did nobody know this was down here before? But then again, it's in the basement. Not many kids go in the basement. Right. It's dark and scary.
It is.
So, yeah, I know. The only thing I find is laundry in our basement.
Well, I watched Blair Witch Project about the time that burned into my head for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah, that's one that camera was so shaky.
Blair Witch Project.
That was fun. I had a Blair Witch Project T-shirt when the thing came out for the promotional
stand
things.
In the corner, little Billy.
Yeah, that was funny. Okay, alrighty. Blake Olson in the news department, sir. Hidden heritage, police unable to crack the case, or kids today have no work ethic.
Let's go with hidden heritage.
Yeah, hidden heritage. Details of a financial scandal now under investigation by Polish prosecutors is slowly beginning to unravel, because part of the reason is they just can't seem to find the museum. This is a weird story. Several years ago, there was money that was set aside, roughly about $5.1 million from the Polish Ministry of Culture, that was going to be used to create the Christian National Heritage Museum. They even picked out a site for it at 64A Powinska Street in the district of Warsaw. It was bought in about 2022. And then they looked at documents and they did some audits and they figured out, has anybody seen the museum? They got the money, but they never actually did anything to build the museum.
Guy's beach house.
Yes. So they found numerous irregularities. They didn't realize the museum was actually supposed to be created, but it was complete fiction. They said, yeah, they filed some of the paperwork, but never went any further than just the basic paperwork and then taking the government money to purchase the building. They bought the building and then nothing. Haven't done anything. Yes.
Doge.
That's right.
The thing is, they're talking about if they actually were going to go ahead and try to build a museum right now because of time and a bunch of other stuff, it would cost them an additional $10.3 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
especially in Poland.
Exactly. It's just like, I'm like, how did nobody notice the museum wasn't there? Like, someone would go, hey, I'm going to go see no, I mean, not on any maps. No, nothing as far as the government went to check to see if they actually built the museum after they cut the check for them. No, not at all. No. No, didn't even care.
Man.
I know. How the hell does that work?
That's sad.
Yeah, in other words, during our summer vacation, Jeff, Blake, and I are going to go to Poland and start a museum.
Yeah,
because evidently
Poland's
they don't
got
check.
a lot of good things going on.
We're just taking the money and coming home. You don't have to check.
Yeah,
You don't have to build
there you
anything
go.
there. Evidently, we can just say we're going to, and then
Yeah.
just do it if we
Why
need to.
not?
With it. Yeah, I think that's a great
love
idea.
it. No,
Alrighty,
I think that's cool.
our final choice this morning: Jeff Hunt. Police unable to crack the case, or kids today have no work ethic.
Let's go with the kids that have no work ethic.
Yeah, kids today have no work ethic. You feel me on this one? And that's especially when you listen to Giancarlo Romano. You may not know that name, but you would if you were in Italy, especially if you were the Italian police. Giancarlo was a former mob boss that was killed about a year ago. And as investigations, they're trying to crack down on the mafia influence in Italy. Giancarlo famously said, kids today have no work ethic. Part of the problem the police are running into is that the Italian mafia is having problems recruiting kids because they don't want to do all the dirty work. They just want to be on the tickety talks and do the social media. They don't understand what actual mob businesses around is doing. They're like, we got a new generation of gang bosses, and they want to get into encrypted mobile phones and cryptocurrency and stuff like that. They're not really about, fixing things and doing the drug crimes, the money laundering, the stuff that really brings in the business. I mean, online gambling is helping, but seriously, kids, we can't do cryptocurrency transactions and make a lot of money. So yes, the Italian police are stepping in. They're trying to stop the mafia from rebuilding in Sicily. And they're finding that a lot of times the low-level employees aren't really that enthused about it. And the mafia is complaining that the kids these days, they really don't have any work ethic. They don't want to show up and do the hard thing about, burning down other people's buildings or collecting racket money and things like that.
Stuffing bodies in trunks.
Exactly. That's hard
Got
work.
some Venezuelan gangs we can send them.
Exactly. We could just do the tickety-talk dances and it'd be fine. Yeah. So I think that's funny that even the mobsters are saying, kids today, they don't want to do hard work. They're such slackers.
Those smartphones, man.
Exactly. Taking up all of it. Well, that's it. That's the end of You Choose the News. The music's going to kick in here in a second. Back to you, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, in the 7:00 hour, John Decker is going to be joining us because European leaders are holding an emergency summit on Monday regarding Ukraine. We're going to have the latest on that. Plus, J.D. Vance's European speech. I thought it was fire. We're going to talk about that and more. And I'm going to hear Billy's take. Want to hear yours as well. So, you got to stick around. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Did Jenny Vance's European vacation go better than National Lampoon's? We'll talk about it.
End up on a billboard?
Yes.
is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, February 17th, 2025. Happy President's Day to you. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. Let's get after it. We got a whole show planned for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, pick up that phone, give us a call. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Coming up in just a second, John Decker, White House correspondent, who's going to join us as European leaders are holding an emergency summit today regarding Ukraine. We're going to get the latest on that. Also want to talk about J.D. Vance's speech at the Munich Security Conference that took place late last week. I thought it was fantastic, calling out the enemy within in Europe. And I was just proven yesterday by this bizarre 60 Minutes episode that dove into the speech laws that Germany has, where they're literally breaking down your door for what you post online. And it doesn't even have to incite violence. It just has to be insulting. You can get fined, have your phones taken away from you. And J.D. Vance calling out these forces within Europe that are threatening democracy. Or did you see it differently? We'll get to that in the 7 o'clock hour. In the 8 o'clock hour, Denver restaurants sending a last-ditch letter to Mayor Mike Johnston saying, you got to fix things now or we're going to be shutting down. We cannot continue to operate under your poor leadership. You're destroying this great city. Get it in line. Very powerful letter. I mean, wild letter. So
yeah. Also, I want to remind everybody, we're going to be at IHOP next week.
Yeah.
They got to come join us.
That's exactly right.
With us. Yeah. Next Wednesday. Yeah.
This is in Greenwood Village.
So yes. Come on out.
First day out of the city of Denver.
Yeah. So somewhat more centralized location than when we went all the way down to, Doug's and Parker. So hopefully everybody can join us. Greenwood Village location. We're going to be out there doing the show live. Come and join us at IHOP. And they even have a very special 710 KNUS breakfast deal for you. $7.10. And you're going to get a ginormous plate of food. We'll talk to you more about it later on. But yeah, come on and join us.
So good. And then we'll get into what the Wall Street Journal has been uncovering with regards to government fraud. So much. First, Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff and Billy. 19 degrees and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 37 on President's Day. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, the IRS is reportedly set to lay off thousands of employees as soon as this week. It's expected that the IRS will be letting go of probationary workers as a part of the DJT's efforts to reduce the federal government workforce. But to me, the big story is what Howard Lutnick, Commerce Secretary, said on the campaign trail months ago.
So this is how Donald Trump is going to end it and fix it. Last week, he announced that we're going to return America to greatness by creating the External Revenue Service.
Yeah, I want that to happen. I definitely want to see that happen. Tariffs would pay for everything. Let's go. European leaders are holding an emergency summit in Paris today to discuss Russia's ongoing war against Ukraine. 47 talked with Putin about negotiating an end to the war.
I think he wants to stop fighting. I see that. We spoke long and hard. Steve Witkoff was with him for a very extended period, like about 3 hours. I think he wants to stop fighting. They have a big, powerful machine. You understand that. And they defeated Hitler and they defeated Napoleon. You know, they've been fighting a long time. They've done it before. And but I think he'd like to. I think he would like to stop fighting.
Hey, the search for a missing snowboarder is expected to resume today in Eagle County. A Denver area man was reported missing Friday afternoon. The Vail Ski Patrol and Vail Mountain Rescue are assisting with the search for the 26-year-old Connor Gill. The Eagle County Sheriff's Office says today's search will be slightly smaller due to heavy snow and the need to let searchers rest. A missing CU Boulder student's body may have been found. The Boulder County Sheriff's Office said that they were notified that a woman's body had been found near the 40-mile marker of Boulder Canyon. The woman matched the description of 18-year-old Megan Trussell, who went missing from her residence hall on February 9th. The identification is pending confirmation from the coroner's office as well as the cause and manner of her death.
This is your favorite president. I'm a big fan. I am a really big fan of you people that you do this. I don't know, but I just want you to be safe. You're talented people and you're great people and great Americans. Have a good day. Have a lot of fun, and I'll see you later.
Wow, what a patriotic day at Daytona Sunday. 47 was there. Second time he's done this. His car, the Beast, was the pace car, and the drivers, man, they were loving this.
He's going to pace the field? Yep. Love it. Gosh, it's awesome.
You know, Mike, people ask me, do you miss it? You know, are you jealous of those competitors out there? Today, right now, I am. I would love to be in this Daytona 500 field out there competing today. This is just so special.
William Byron wins the race, and it was just a great day for DJT and America.
I think it's great for the country. Our country is doing well again, and we have spirit all over the world. There's spirit again. We brought it back, and it's been less than 4 weeks. So you'll see what we do in a little period of time. It's going to only get better, but this is very exciting.
And then on the ice in Montreal, Four Nations face-off. So they booed the national anthem, and then USA and Canada got after it. USA starts 3 fights in like 9 seconds. USA goes up, and they just destroy Canada. 3-1 the final, and then Freebird was played across the country. Hockey fans in America as they celebrated. Wow, I mean, it was crazy action in that thing. So good for hockey, actually. JD Vance was in Germany, as Jeff and Billy were talking about, where they don't have free speech, kind of like Canada. He gave a speech on the state of Europe, and Margaret Brennan had Marco Rubio on her show. She tried to just destroy everything on the boob tube, and Rubio set her straight.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history. I also think it's wrong. Again, I go back to the point of his speech. Okay, the point of his speech was basically that there is an erosion in free speech and intolerance for opposing points of view within Europe. And that's of concern because that is eroding us.
Destroyed her. 16 in Arvada, 17 in Lone Tree, 19 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue.
But I believe we fight for something, not against it.
Yeah. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Enjoy today's relatively mild temperatures because Arctic air is going to back westward into Colorado's plains and Front Range areas tomorrow and especially by tomorrow night and Wednesday. Watch for some areas of fog early, otherwise partly cloudy, highs mid to upper 30s today. There will be a chance of snow showers later today and snow showers tonight. Lows will be upper single digits to low teens. Highs only teens and 20s Tuesday, cloudy with a few snow showers. A bit of light snow. Very cold Tuesday night. Lows will be single digits to near zero. Highs only lower 20s with a chance of snow showers Wednesday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Look, if the last couple of years have taught us anything, that you got to value what you can control, and addressing hair loss is no exception. Our friends at Advanced Hair Restoration can reverse years or even decades of hair loss with their simple one-day treatment. Your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day, and your new hair is backed by the Advanced Hair Guarantee. It works for bald spots, receding hairline, thinning hair, for men, women, younger, wiser, all of us. Advanced Hair can address many different patterns of hair loss. Advanced Hair's top-rated physicians like Dr. Tanya Pauls have changed tens of thousands of people's lives, and now it's your turn. Schedule your free consultation by calling 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR. And to celebrate the new year, let's get a special financing option going. Here we go. 250 free hair grafts and $250 off. Value the things you can control and start regrowing your own natural hair today. That's 720-459-HAIR, or become inspired with the before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. All right, so Bill, let's dive into what's happening in Europe now. A lot happening very quickly. European leaders are holding an emergency summit today regarding Ukraine. White House correspondent John Decker joins us now to give us the latest. So, John, before we get into this Ukraine, I got to applaud you. I was watching the press conference the other day, and I saw you ask some very good questions of the White House press secretary. Man, you were right in the thick of it. Great job.
Oh, thanks a lot. Yeah, I've got a good relationship with the new press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, and that's a good thing. And, I have had a relationship that goes back with the Trump folks to their first term in the White House. So I think that, they know me, they trust me, and that's obviously an important thing in terms of getting called on at those press briefings and also at the press conferences involving President Trump as well.
Yeah, it was very cool. And I want our listeners to know that, to watch those press conferences, because you are going to hear and see John Decker right there in the midst of it, asking very good questions, not fluff questions. These were good, targeted questions. I think you did a great job. Well, let's talk about the emergency summit taking place about Ukraine. What's going on here?
Well, President Macron of France decided to put together this emergency summit with his European counterpart that's taking place in Paris today. And the reason being is because for this initial meeting that's taking place regarding the future of Ukraine, it just involves U.S. and Russian officials, the U.S. delegation being led by our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I imagine his counterpart, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, will lead the Russian delegation, but no European representative in terms of a seat at the table, no representative from Ukraine. And I think that's a concern. It's a concern to Europe, which has contributed tens of millions of dollars to helping out Ukraine militarily and economically. I say millions, I meant billions of dollars economically and financially over the course of the past 3 years. And they want to figure out, from the European perspective, what a peace looks like, what security looks like once a peace is ultimately achieved between Russia and Ukraine.
Well, John Decker, I know you got a very busy morning. We're going to watch all of this, lots of moving pieces. If anyone missed it, go check out the great interview that Kristen Welker did with the leader of Ukraine on Meet the Press yesterday. It was a very insightful conversation. But John, I know you've got to run. Thanks for taking a few moments to spend with the Jeff and Bill Show today.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Always appreciate it. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.
He always ends with that. Bye-bye.
Yeah. I cut him off a couple times. Now we got to wait for that.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right. So basically what's happened is MAGA and the focus of the Trump administration is now turned towards Europe. There was a Munich Security Council speech that took place late last week with J.D. Vance. Here's one aspect of it.
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States of America. Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values. We must live them.
And surprisingly, I watched his entire speech. It's only about 20 minutes. It's not too long. I recommend you go watch it. But not a lot of applause from the folks in the room. On that, there was nothing wrong that he said there. And he's got to call to account some of the problems that we're seeing in Europe. Pro-life leaders being arrested for simply praying outside of abortion clinics. And then CBS News, it was like perfect timing. You know, the media is out there bashing J.D. Vance for his speech, saying he's aligning with the far right. He's aligning with the far right. And don't you know all these problems we had in Europe with the far right? And then 60 Minutes yesterday does this piece.
Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes. Yes, it is.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes.
The fine could be even higher if you insult someone in the internet.
Why?
Because in internet, it stays there. If we are talking here face to face, you insult me, I insult you, okay, finish. But if you're in the internet, if I insult you or a politician,
that sticks around forever.
Yeah.
The prosecutors explain German law also prohibits the spread of malicious gossip, violent threats, and fake quotes.
If somebody posts something that's not true, and then somebody else reposts it or likes it, are they committing a crime?
Yeah, in the case of reposting, it is a crime as well, because the reader can't distinguish whether you just invented this or just reposted it. That's the same for us.
The punishment for breaking hate speech laws can include jail time for repeat offenders.
Bill, I felt like, J.D. Vance goes and gives this speech, and then you have direct evidence of what J.D. Vance is trying to confront. Played on by 60 Minutes the same night. I think J.D. Vance was exactly right to call out Europe for some of this.
Yeah. Why was he so concerned about that and not dealing with Russia and Ukraine? And the other thing that John Decker had pointed out, so the U.S. and Russia are meeting about how to settle the war in Ukraine.
First,
should the Ukrainians have any voice in this?
Well, yeah, they are. So
yeah,
they're going to start what is the first step is it's going to be U.S. and Russia, and then U.S. and Ukraine, and then they're going to try to bring them together. So, and on Meet the Press, Kristen Welker did a good speech with Zelensky, or a good interview with Zelensky, where they dove into a lot of this. And he wants to have a seat at the table. I think that's right for him to have a seat at the table. I don't think just because the order of the meetings starts with Russia that somehow Ukraine is not going to have a seat at the table.
Why wouldn't you start, though, with both parties at the table? Why would you need to talk to both parties first? And if you're going to, why would you talk to Russia first?
Since they're the most powerful.
But we're defending Ukraine. Why wouldn't you side with your ally first? Why would you not sit down and game plan with them about what's important to them and what they need first, and then talk to the enemy? I don't understand. This is almost like, Secretary of Defense Hegseth coming out and saying no NATO, and we're not, and Russia doesn't have to give any of the land back, taking away 2 major negotiating chips before Russia has even held a meeting with anybody. So this seems very little like an actual negotiation. This looks like a capitulation, and Putin getting to tell Trump what he is going to do and what he wants, and then Trump being the errand boy going over to Ukraine and telling them this is what Russia's position is, and now how are we going to make this work? I would start with our ally. I think that is how you reinforce this information.
That the Trump administration knows what Ukraine wants out of this deal?
No, not really.
You don't think so?
No, because not when
We've
Secretary.
been fighting this war for 4 years.
But aren't they only in office for like 3-4 weeks? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it is something. I mean, when Hegseth steps out there and gives away NATO membership and territory in his first official speech about it,
he walked that back. He said everything's still on the table.
Too late. It's too late. They already know the position. That's too late. He's already shown the cards, and now he's trying to turn the cards back over.
I don't understand how you feel like this is some secret that the NATO position with regards to Ukraine can't be revealed to Russia or something.
No, you don't give it up. The idea is, and what he's shown is he's already willing to give it up. And now he's like, no, all things are on the table. My foot. He's already gotten to the place intellectually inside the administration where they're willing to give up Ukraine. And you're dealing with Vladimir Putin. You're dealing with a guy that is a definite negotiator, a guy that absolutely goes for the jugular, a guy that will kill you if he doesn't like what you do.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not coming around talking about a regular negotiation. This is someone that's completely and totally different. And they've already given away part of their stance so far. And again, you game plan with your ally first rather than talking to the enemy. You present a united front. This is what we're going to do, and then we're going to talk to the enemy. Don't talk to the enemy first, then come back and talk to your ally. It's just backwards, but that's okay. They can do whatever they want.
In the interview I saw with Zelensky on Meet the Press yesterday, it doesn't seem like Zelensky, and I don't blame him after what he's gone through, can sit down with Putin. I mean, so Kristen Welker asked him that, and Zelensky refers to Putin as a murderer, which he's not wrong. But after everything he's gone through, it did not seem to me like Zelensky could actually sit across the table without reaching across the table and strangle the guy. So, and like I said, I don't blame him for that. But I also don't look at Trump going, okay, we're going to start with Putin and figure that out is necessarily bad either.
I'm going to tell you that if I'm going into a room and I'm going to negotiate with Vladimir Putin, who has blown up, stabbed, poisoned, killed his enemies, I'm bringing the dude in the room with me that's willing to go across the table and stab him in the throat. I'm bringing that guy with me. I'm bringing the guy that is going to be like, I hate you so much, I am willing to choke you out right now with my hands. I'm bringing that guy with me because he's the reinforcement. He's the idea that we're serious about this. We're not taking any of your crap. I'm not coming in this soft. I'm bringing a guy that wants to sit across the table. He's going to look in your face and he wants you dead today.
So you think you can get to peace with that strategy?
Yes. Yeah, because here's the idea. Russia's not really looking for peace per se. They need an out. And the idea of coming into Russia with soft doesn't work with Russia. Russia is, again, I thought this thing about, hang on a sec. I thought this thing about Trump was he was strong. He was strong. And we're not bringing the strong guy.
Zelensky admitted directly to that. He said the reason Putin is willing to finally negotiate is because of Trump.
Yeah, because he thinks he's going to give him what he wants. Yeah,
no,
absolutely.
Because he's actually Bill. This was Zelensky. This isn't me.
Oh, I understand.
This was Zelensky yesterday on Meet the Press saying the reason Putin is willing to come to the table now is because he's scared of Trump.
Yes, because that's what Trump needs to hear. Yes, absolutely. If I was in Zelensky's place, that's exactly what I would be saying. Because I need Trump to be more on my side than he needs to be on Putin's side. Because my first blush is he's more on Putin's side. He's already given Putin no NATO membership for Ukraine. He's already given Putin the free land.
Dude, none of that came across in that interview.
I understand
none of
that
came across in that interview.
I understand. I'm telling you, but he's a politician. He's playing the politics. The situation right now is you have to say, Donald Trump, big, strong man. Donald Trump's super scary. We're going to be doing this. Same thing Putin's going to say. But as soon as Donald Trump was inaugurated, Putin got in there and talked about, oh, Trump's such a great negotiator. Such a great negotiator. This is going to be good. Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. Yes, this is politics. They're buttering up both sides. Yes, absolutely.
Bill,
absolutely.
We might get to peace on this.
Yeah, I thought it was a phone call in 24 hours.
We might get there.
I know.
What's wrong with that? We spent 4 years fighting this under Biden.
What's wrong with it? We are giving Russia so far no NATO membership for Ukraine, and we're giving up territory that Russia took illegally. That's the problem. We look
if
weak.
That brings peace. You won't accept that? You won't accept that if it brings peace?
No, I don't.
So you want to continue to spend money in Ukraine?
Yes, I would. Yes, I get that. Yes, I believe.
Are you going to go all the way to war with Russia?
Depends on what you talk about as far as all the way to war, because I'm not certain that Russia really wants that per se. But yes, I do not think that we should allow Russia to walk in and forcibly take land from another sovereign nation. No, that is not okay with me. And I'm sorry that I'm drawing this line on this. And I find it hard to understand why everybody that's supporting Trump and everybody that's all MAGA and everybody that supports the Constitution and the flag is all like, oh, well, if he invades them, he should be allowed to keep some of the land. No, how about all the land he took? But I understand why that's the presumption, because we're talking about going and taking land from Panama and Denmark. So I get it. And we're talking about taking it from Canada. I understand why we want the idea of if we invade, we get to keep land. I get it. That's the function of what the government's doing right now here in America.
All right. Want to hear from you. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Campos Law text line at 720-819-5115. Original conversation, but it's all mixed together. J.D. Vance, European speech in Germany, condemning the enemy from within. These threats to democracy that are taking place within England, France, Germany, absolutely needs to be called out. I'm glad J.D. Vance did that. And I think Trump has a real shot at getting peace. And this is not a war I want America to continue to fund. I sure as hell don't want our sons and daughters to lose their lives over this. And if we've got to figure it out, maybe Ukraine loses a little land. Doesn't bother me as much as an endless war with Russia. Want to hear where you are on all this. 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Campos Law text line at 720-819-5115. We'll get to your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Jack Smith, the former special counsel who brought 2 criminal cases against President Donald Trump, which have since been dismissed and dropped, received $140,000 in free legal services from a prominent Washington law firm last month. The gift from Covington and Burling came in the form of pro bono legal assistance, according to a disclosure Smith filed last month as he was leaving the Justice Department. The reason for the legal services aren't clear. However, President Donald Trump suggested criminal prosecution if Smith was found to have broken the law with the cases and indictments. Earlier this month, Attorney General Pam Bondi directed the Justice Department to examine its weaponization under the Biden administration, specifically mentioning Jack Smith and his staff, who spent more than $50 million of taxpayer money targeting President Trump. FAFO trending on X over the weekend after Canadian fans booed the American national anthem before the sold-out matchup between Team USA and Team Canada. A quick reaction from Team USA, who got into 3 fights within the first 9 seconds, scored 3 unanswered goals, blasted Freebird after each goal, and put a beat down on Team Canada in their own stadium. Many on X saying America is back, and so is American hockey. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking a very heated topic right now. J.D. Vance's speech at the Munich Security Conference calling out Europe's enemy within, their willingness to abandon Democrat norms like free speech, free and fair elections in order to, quote, protect democracy. He lays out what happened in Romania. He lays out the example of pastors being arrested for praying outside of abortion clinics, and even what happened in Germany, where you basically have free speech police or, quote, hate speech police running around kicking down doors if you post, public personal criticism of public officials. And then you have an emergency meeting taking place in Europe today on Ukraine. The Trump administration choosing to start their negotiations with Russia. Is that a position of strength? Is it a position of weakness? Text messages coming in saying, I'm a hypocrite because if it was my land that was lost to Russia, I'd go defend it. Well, yes, I would, because it would be my land. I am tired of spending American taxpayer dollars and, more importantly, the blood of our sons and daughters to go fight other people's wars. I'm exhausted of it. I'm burned out after Afghanistan and Iraq, after Vietnam, and I don't see what we got out of it. So yes, I see it differently. If it was our country having to deal with this direct threat, and I get the concern that Putin's going to march all the way through Europe and take all of it over. Okay, if he's going to take all of Europe over, then we've got to go fight that. But
do we?
Of course.
Why? We're not fighting this one.
Yeah,
we don't want to put boots on the ground there.
Because I don't see it, because it's not as much.
But again, even if he goes to the next 2-3 countries in Europe, it's still not our land. So why would we? Why would we drop boots in the ground there? If we're not willing here to drop boots in the ground, why would we then?
Because I don't see it as the same. Because it's a small sliver. There's always going to be a red line. And
so it's just the size of the country? Or how many is he allowed to take first?
Size of the country. Has he taken all of Ukraine?
I'm just wondering. I just want to know where your line is. Oh, he wants to.
Yeah,
so where's your line?
I mean,
would it be? I know, but that's partly because of us that you say it's a bad idea.
Yeah, Europe stepped up too.
But again, you also say it's a bad idea. So how much of Ukraine and how much of the rest of Europe should he be allowed to have? What's your line? I'm just curious. Where's the line?
I don't know the map well enough right now to say that this is exactly. Well, I don't think he's going to take any countries. I think we can negotiate peace. None. But I think we can negotiate.
You're allowed to have some of Ukraine. So you'd give him part of countries.
But it's not the whole country.
Yeah. So
and am I willing to get peace if Putin's willing to walk away and stop? Yeah.
So he can go and invade other countries, and then if he just takes part of it and walk away, then we're okay with that.
I think you're dealing with hypotheticals. I'm trying to get to peace right now.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm curious, once we set this up as a standard, what that means we also are allowing him to do. If this is the standard, then that's what I'm curious about. And this is the behavior we've allowed.
The response,
you're a parent, you understand
the response is, if you challenge any of these countries, the United States was willing to commit to an endless war to protect them.
That's kind of if they're NATO allies, it's kind of the deal.
But they're not a NATO ally.
Not yet, and they should be, but that's fine. I think they should be, but that's fine. That's okay, but they're not, and they're not going to be because J.D. Vance has already given that up. Not J.D. Vance, but Pete Hegseth has already given that up.
Right.
So we're not even going to let them. So we've already given away a major chip in the negotiation. That's great. It's wonderful, and it's good that Putin will now be reinforced that he can take part of countries. So we just have to pick them out.
Do you think the United States of America should assassinate Putin?
Somewhat of a loaded question. Depends on when, where, how, and why. I'm not against it. But actively, that's
and if that kicked off a world war,
again, here's the idea: we would have to be good enough at it so they wouldn't know it was us. Is the theory. You don't show up and with unfurl a giant American flag and then shoot him in the head. It doesn't happen that way. You'd have to go other ways. I mean, Putin has offed a whole lot of his enemies, and he's done it with plausible deniability at times. So, I mean, that's the idea. Is he's killed a lot of his people. Didn't lead to any world wars or anything else like that. And so I disagree with the idea of where you start and then where you're going to end. I disagree that if we were given the chance to assassinate Putin, one, they would know it as us. Two, that would lead to a world war. Because who's going to jump up and defend and say, you've done that? Who's going to defend them? You've got maybe Iran, maybe North Korea, maybe China. Maybe China. That's about it. Nobody else is jumping up and down. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of people out there.
You want to find out where my line is. If
Yeah.
you believe that Putin is a real threat.
Yeah, I do.
And is going to destroy this world, then doesn't the United States have a place to try to assassinate him? That's the same question I have back for Suzanne, who's texting in saying, I won't go defend other people's lands. Do you think I should send my sons and daughters to go fight a war with Russia in the name of democracy? Let's go to the phone lines. Joe Arvada. Good morning, Joe. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning, Jeff, Billy. See, this is where, you got to look at the outline of a debate here, and the premise is all wrong, Billy. You have it because you're in lockstep with the mainstream media. You follow along like a little gosling. It's Russia versus Ukraine. But see, Billy, it never was Russia versus Ukraine. You have to understand something. It was a proxy war of the United States versus Russia using Ukraine. This should be called the Victoria Nuland War. This war was created because the Democrats wanted war in Ukraine against Russia. They used 1 million Ukraine people to fight the war against Russia. Donald Trump has said this 1,000 times, and you never even acknowledge it. This war would never have transpired under Donald Trump. It only happened under Democrat.
Yeah. Donald,
Obama
to be fair, Joe, to be fair,
Biden rule.
To be fair,
that's
Donald Trump,
where it happened.
To be fair, Donald Trump says a lot of things that are unmoored from reality.
Gosh.
But what I want to go first is you talk about the idea this is a proxy war and that the Democrats in America wanted to get into this.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Who invaded whom? And what was the premise for that?
I'll tell you who invaded whom. Victoria Nuland went in and decided that Crimea was not, that Ukraine is not a borderland of Russia, and somehow the CIA can get in there and we can provide weapons and we can beat them in Ukraine. If we just have all these millions of Ukrainian soldiers go in there and try to fight for Crimea. They've been fighting for 1,000 years, but let's go ahead and give them as many weapons as we can. And hey, there's a lot of largesse for us. We'll line Joe Biden's pockets. We'll line Victoria Nuland's pockets. We'll line Anthony Blinken's pockets. We'll line Obama's pockets. And we'll have a war, and only 1 million Ukrainians will die. None of us will die.
Who invaded whom?
We will go. You know who invaded whom? It was us saying to Ukraine, to Russia, we're going to make this a NATO
Why is this question
state.
so hard for you? Why is this question so difficult? Why do you have
It's very simple.
No,
we
Joe.
tried to take back Crimea.
No, Joe. We didn't try to take back Crimea. Russia took Crimea. Russia annexed Crimea. No. Russia annexed Crimea. It was part of Ukrainian territory. No, Joe, we're going to do this, and we're going to walk through this together.
You think...
Joe, stop talking.
I think you
no, stop. Okay, I can't sit there and just sit here. You're just going to try to talk until I don't get a chance to say anything, Joe. I asked you a very, very specific question about who invaded whom, and you didn't acknowledge any of it. You went into a whole bunch of mental gymnastics about how you wanted to blame the U.S. for actions that were taken by Vladimir Putin in Russia. We also know that Crimea was part of Ukraine. And I disagree with Barack Obama letting Russia just take it over. That was a huge mistake and gave, in my mind, the idea for Putin that they can go ahead and take more of Ukraine. It was Russia that invaded. It is not the U.S. or Ukraine that invaded Russia. Russia is the aggressor. You have to, if you're talking about debate and you're talking about the premise, you have to start on that platform. That's where the conflict started. Russia was the aggressor. First in Crimea, then through the rest of Ukraine. Yes, that's how it happened.
Okay, no, it isn't.
Okay, Joe, I'm sorry. If you're not going to acknowledge how time works, we can't have this conversation. If you're not willing to say that Russia invaded Ukraine, what am I supposed to do?
But
what am I supposed to do?
I want to hear what Joe has to say, because I think we lost Joe.
I literally cut Joe off because I asked him, can he acknowledge that Russia invaded Ukraine? And his answer was no. That's not correct.
What Joe is pointing out, though, is that there was concern from Russia about the role of NATO in Ukraine.
Yeah, and
that was part of the reason why. I'm not justifying what Russia did, but to be fair and accurate, you have to look at why Russia felt it had, and I'm not agreeing with it, but why Russia felt it had to respond to Ukraine.
So you think that because Ukraine could have gotten NATO membership,
I'm not agreeing with it.
That's okay.
I'm not agreeing with it, but you have to provide a fair analysis of what happened.
No, I am providing a fair analysis. Russia is the aggressor. Russia came in and took Crimea. Russia came in, and I'm sorry, if they're talking, they have NATO countries on their border right now. This whole idea of, no, we can't have NATO countries on our border. I'm sorry, you have them on your border right now. That is a BS excuse about Ukraine.
Do you think Russia likes it?
I don't care, honestly.
But see, that's the
really
frustration here is like, and
so
I think
care
Trump
about
is
Russia.
Right.
Okay, so this is
I
what
think Trump is right in this sense of analyzing that this war should have never happened, could have been negotiated.
Could have been negotiated. How?
Yes.
How much would Trump have come in first and said, "Okay, Putin, how much of Ukraine you want?"
Would you be willing to give up 1 mile of Ukraine? We got so many calls coming in right now. Would you be willing to give up 1 mile of Ukraine to avoid a war with Russia? Sorry, I was asking a question while you were on the phone.
No, that was someone else yelling at me.
Would you be willing to give up, and we got to get to a break here. Would you be willing to give up 1 mile of Ukraine to avoid a war with Russia?
That is not my decision to make.
I know, but no, we're talking hypothetically. You asked me about a map. I'm asking you about a map. 1 mile of Ukraine to avoid a war with Russia.
Where's the mile? Where's the mile and what are they taking? That's what I'd want to know. I would want to know where the mile is and what are they taking before. I'm not. My gut instinct right away is no. Nope, no way, no how, nah. I am not willing.
Not a single inch of Ukraine, and we will fight till the death to defend it.
Yeah, I have this thing about, I don't know, sovereignty of nations. I got an issue with that I don't want any nation coming in and saying, you know what, because we're going to threaten invasion and war, you're going to have to give us some of your land. No, I'm not cool with that. And I don't understand why anybody would be. I don't understand that at all. How much of the U.S. would you be willing to give to Russia?
Fight, because it's not our fight.
How much of the U.S.
If this was our land, yes. But having to constantly get into other people's fights to spend our money when we're $36 trillion in debt, and then worse, to even threaten to use the lives of our sons and daughters to go fight this. No, that's where I draw the line. All right, we'll get to your phone calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, you're walking in to negotiate peace between Ukraine and Russia. What are you willing to give up? Is it not 1 square inch mile? Putin, sit down. It's our way or the highway. Or do we need to find some peace here because spending money, God forbid, any lives on this dispute, this aggressiveness by Russia, which I agree it is aggressiveness by Russia, there needs to be negotiation here because it's just not worth the money and the lives. Let's go to the phone lines. Tony Littleton, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning. The conversation is interesting, but there are so many assumptions and facts that are wrong. And so let's get those straight, and then you can continue the conversation. First of all, Ukraine is not some small sliver. It is the largest land former satellite of the Soviet Union. Belarus is number 2. So if you talk about defending, what the fear is, what if Russia were to attack Latvia, a very small country that's a part of NATO, and we are sworn to defend Latvia via Article 5 of the NATO agreement, right? Well, the whole idea is avoid having Russia attack Latvia through Belarus and us defending a very small country. Right now, we've got a very large country with people who are willing to fight as long as they have weapons. And so those facts need to be straight.
But Tony,
Second,
Tony, would you get peace though? If you could, if we gave up 25 miles, would you give peace?
There's peace, and there may be land that is associated with it, but there's something much larger than the land. And I can see Ukraine giving up, say, Crimea, just saying, okay, Crimea can go.
You got about 20 seconds. Go ahead.
What Ukraine wants, that's a shame. Keep me through the break then, because this is the conversation you're getting.
I'll do that. We'll continue the conversation. Tony, stick around. We got jam-packed phone lines. Text us if you'd like, 720-819-5115. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Monday, February 17th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history. Donald Trump's your president. We got a whole hour planned for you of engaging conversations, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. We're talking Trump, Crimea, Ukraine, Zelensky, J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, Vladimir Putin, how it all fits together. Zelensky was on Meet the Press yesterday. I think he was very complimentary of Donald Trump. Wants to see where this goes. The only thing that came through in that was he wants to make sure he has a seat at the table on the peace that's negotiated. I don't think that's a problem. But Trump wanting to start first with Russia, you think that's a good move, bad move? Join the conversation. We'll get into all of this. But first, news with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
All right, thanks a lot, Jeff and Billy. 21 degrees and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 37 on President's Day. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, a missing CU Boulder student's body may have been found. The woman matched the description of an 18-year-old named Megan Trussell, who had been missing from her residence hall since February 9th.
She's a character. She is a storyteller. She does voice impersonations. She's a really fun person to be around.
That's Judy Bricado, a family friend of the Trussells, who was helping with the volunteer search on Saturday. The Boulder County Sheriff's Office said they were notified that a woman's body had been found near the 40-mile marker of Boulder Canyon that afternoon. The identification is pending confirmation from the coroner's office, as well as the cause and manner of her death. The search for a missing snowboarder is expected to resume today in Eagle County. A Denver area man was reported missing Friday. The Vail Ski Patrol and Vail Mountain Rescue are assisting with the search for 26-year-old Connor Gill. The Eagle County Sheriff's Office says today's search will be slightly smaller due to the heavy snow and the need to let searchers rest. Almost a dozen people are dead after a catastrophic flooding and other weather hit the Southeast this weekend. 9 people were killed in Kentucky, and the death toll may rise. Thousands of IRS employees will reportedly be laid off as soon as this week. DOJ is doing its job. The swamp is being drained. The unemployment rate in the D.C. area is now 36%. Oh, goody. Look at this. All 50 states are expected to see protests today against DJT's policies since taking office. The 5501 movement, they're holding a Not My President's Day event in every city, major city across the nation. Hey, here's an Elon and DJT hater in Oregon.
He cheats, he lies, he steals, and he bought a presidency. He has done nothing original other than to create things off of other people's ideas.
You think that Elon Musk is Honey, Tesla and SpaceX?
Hold on,
we don't have to. Hey,
my heart.
Wow. I happened to be at my desk over the weekend, and I heard the great John Caldera on Saturday say this about Elon.
People keep saying, nobody voted for Elon. Nobody voted for this guy. No, I frickin' voted for this guy.
Amen.
That Trump said, if you elect me, I am going to have Elon Musk head our department to find efficiency. And people like me said, okay, that's another reason I'll vote for you. So when you hear that whiny, nobody voted for him, you proudly say, no, I voted for him. He was promised if Trump would win, he would do this. Do you not remember that?
And he was talking to Joe, by the way. You can hear Joe in the background. Europe is all upset. Emergency meeting today. They're not in the talks with Russia and USA. And John Decker, White House correspondent, on with Jeff and Billy last hour.
No European representative in terms of a seat at the table, no representative from Ukraine. And I think that's a concern. It's a concern to Europe, which has contributed tens of millions of dollars to helping out Ukraine militarily and economically. I say millions, I meant billions of dollars economically and financially over the course of the past 3 years. And they want to figure out, from the European perspective, what a peace looks like, what security looks like once a peace is ultimately achieved between Russia and Ukraine.
And I'm with caller Joe on this. Lefty globalists, they love war. Democrats love war, like Victoria Nuland and Joe Biden. They probably started this war in Ukraine in 2014. Joe.
They've been fighting for 1,000 years, but let's go ahead and give them as many weapons as we can. And hey, there's a lot of largesse for us. We'll line Joe Biden's pockets. We'll line Victoria Nuland's pockets. Yes. We'll line Anthony Blinken's pockets. We'll line Obama's pockets. And we'll have a war, and only 1 million Ukrainians will die.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
I think Joe was hitting it. What a patriotic day at Daytona Saturday. 47 was there. Second time he's done this. His car was the beast that was the pace car, and the drivers, they really enjoyed it.
I think he wants to stop fighting.
Wrong one. Let me see if I can find it.
Still pace the field? Yep. Love it. Gosh, it's awesome.
Mike, people ask me, do you miss it? Are you jealous of those competitors out there today, right now? I am. I would love to be in this Daytona 500 field out there competing today. This is just so special.
This is your favorite president. I'm a big fan. I am a really big fan of you people that you do this. I don't know, but I just want you to be safe. You're talented people, and you're great people and great Americans. Have a good day. Have a lot of fun, and I'll see you later.
Those radios kind of make you sound like Joe Biden.
Anyone check on Bubba Wallace yesterday?
I don't know. Is he still? Is he still racing? That story made me so mad.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Great question. 19 in Lafayette, 20 in Centennial, 21 in Denver. Jeff and Billy, they continue. What do I have here?
You still pace the field? Yep. Love it. Gosh, it's awesome.
That is awesome. Blake Olson, News Talk, 710 KNUS.
Enjoy today's relatively mild temperatures because Arctic air is going to back westward into Colorado's plains and Front Range areas tomorrow and especially by tomorrow night and Wednesday. Watch for some areas of fog early, otherwise partly cloudy, highs mid to upper 30s today. There will be a chance of snow showers later today and snow showers tonight. Lows will be upper single digits to low teens. Highs only teens and 20s Tuesday, cloudy with a few snow showers. A bit of light snow. Very cold Tuesday night. Lows will be single digits to near zero. Highs only lower 20s with a chance of snow showers Wednesday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS.
Yesterday, Vladimir Zelensky was on Meet the Press for a good 25 minutes or so. Kristen Welker interviewing him, very complimentary of Donald Trump, saying that he thinks Putin's willing to come to the table now because of Donald Trump's strength in this, but he wants to make sure he's got a seat at the table. Zelensky, one of the more interesting parts of the conversation was him alluding to the fact, but not willing to directly say that Putin may invade Belarus, and is doing some exercises right there. But Zelensky thinks that Putin's going to go all the way through. He wants all of Europe. And, if there could be peace, what are you willing to give up? Joe and Arvada saying we've been fighting this for 1,000 years. Do we need to keep spending money there? Let's go back to the phone lines. Tony Littleton. Good morning, Tony. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Okay, so picking this back up, Putin's justification for invading Ukraine was this notion that we agreed not to expand NATO eastward. That's not true. That's not a true statement. Back when HW was president and Germany was uniting, the Secretary of State, and I can't come to his name, this silver-haired Secretary of State went over there and had this discussion. Well, we won't expand eastward. He then came back to the States, talked to H.W. Bush, and H.W. said, no. I'm disappointed in you for even saying that. We won this, the Cold War. We're not making that guarantee. Then it was said, well, not Putin, but Gorbachev's going to need something. Well, give him money. And hundreds of billions of dollars between Germany and Europe and the United States was given to Russia as the chip to allow the unification of Germany. So that's not true. There was never any guarantee, and that's what Putin is hanging his hat on, and Trump is buying into it. Now, what Ukraine is willing to do is they're going to end up giving up some land in this, but they want a guarantee of their security. They gave up their missiles. Remember, they gave up their nuclear missiles. So they want a guarantee. That guarantee is represented through NATO. They want to be a part of NATO, and they want to be a part of the European Union, of the financial instrument, the European Union, and Putin is against both. Europe is afraid that Trump is going to appease Putin, and they've had this experience with appeasement before in appeasing Hitler over Poland. Big mistake. They're afraid Trump is going to make exactly that mistake. He's been talking to Putin offline, away from the Europeans, away from Ukraine, and that's why the European Union's meeting right now.
What if Trump believes that he has to do this because over the last 4 years, Europe's engagement, the Biden administration's engagement, including everybody else, Ukraine, hasn't gotten to a place of peace?
It's not gotten to peace yet, but half of that's caused because our going back and forth, the fear that we're going to, because Trump says cut off weapons supply to Ukraine, and Congress delays, and so Putin's waiting and fighting this war until he could have Trump in office, because he thinks he's going to win with Trump as well. He thinks he's going to get his way with Trump. Our position should be very hard. We're not backing down. We're going to work with you. Maybe it's around Crimea. Maybe it's Crimea because they've got their big naval base there. Maybe give them Crimea, but Ukraine will join NATO if NATO decides they want Ukraine in, and you, Putin, have nothing to say about it. They never threatened. They never invaded Russia. They never were a threat to Russia. Russia simply is taking what they think they can get away with. One more big deal, and it's what Europe's out talking about right now. They're afraid we are going to back out. Not just of this war, but back out of NATO. And they have a big issue now that they have to deal with, and that's a nuclear umbrella. And that's not being even mentioned in the press. That's got to be at top of their agenda. They have to have a nuclear umbrella to defend themselves against Russia.
Tony, do you think NATO and Russia are enemies?
I think Russia is threatened by NATO. They're more threatened by democracy on their border. That's more threatening to Putin than anything else, is having a democracy on his border. And that's what Ukraine is a fledgling democracy going through the growth pains that any big democracy or new democracy does. And that's what he really fears, is that he's got a democratic state, and his Russian citizens are on the other side, seeing what they can have in Ukraine, what Ukraine has and what they don't have. And he hates that. He hates that, them seeing that. Just like China doesn't like their people seeing what Taiwan has. It's the same exact game.
So I'm looking at the map here, right? You've got Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, all NATO countries that are right up against the border of Russia. Then Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova that are not. And then you go back down to Turkey, yes, and Georgia, I think, yes. So
Georgia, no.
Is Georgia, no? Okay, it's hard to see on the map. Thanks. So you have NATO countries that are growing right up against the border of Russia.
That's right. That's right. They're not afraid of the little countries. They're afraid of the emerging democracy. And Ukraine's got a lot of minerals. A lot of growing of wheat and farm. They have oil. They have. I'm trying to find the right word. The minerals. That are hard to come by.
Right.
Rare earth minerals, of which now Trump is trying to trade weapons for rare earth minerals. He's throwing that out there. He's thrown that in the mix. Well, you got to give us something. He's playing his transactional game right now with Ukraine when he simply says to Russia, "Look, we'll work something out on the land, probably around Crimea." And Ukraine could probably live with that. But Ukraine wants security guarantees. And the only way that can be done is us saying, we'll decide when and if Ukraine is a NATO member and when and if they become part of the European Union. And Russia does not want to fight. They absolutely do not want to fight with NATO. Remember, NATO is 1 billion. They're having
fight. If they don't want to fight with NATO, don't you understand their opposition to Ukraine joining NATO?
Of course they don't want. Of course they don't want Ukraine as a part of NATO. But that's not their business. That's a sovereign country. Nobody's putting missiles into. Nobody's putting nuclear weapons into Ukraine. Ukraine has a right. They're a sovereign country. They have a right, and that's why H.W. Bush, and of course H.W. Bush, knew that no, we're not making any guarantees to any potential dictator as to what the future of a country is. That's up to the country and the situation that we're in. They have every right to join the European Union. They want to be a democracy. They don't want to be under a dictatorship. They have a right to choose freedom over a dictatorship. And we should be standing behind that. And Biden was.
To what point, though? Tony, to what point? Are you willing to send American sons and daughters to go fight?
Don't, that's an assumption you're making.
No, I'm asking you because you just said we need to stand with these democracies.
I'm saying it's so unlikely. Listen. That's unlikely. Russia can't deal with a military from a country that's only got 50 million people. How can they possibly deal with countries that represent 1 billion people and the size of that military?
I know that, no, but we're now negotiating, and he needs to know where our red line is.
Our red line. Putin is not going to attack NATO. He can't win in a battle against NATO. He knows he can't win in a battle against NATO. That's why he's been threatening the use of nuclear weapons. And we have to remind him we have those too, and mutual assured destruction still exists.
So Tony, all I've heard in this conversation is we need to go toe to toe with Russia in order to defend these democracies all the way.
Yes,
nuclear weapons. We have nuclear weapons. Let's go all the way on this.
No, that's not what was said. That was not what was said. America still has the leadership role in the Western world, and we cannot walk away from it. And Trump, that's why
I think
the Europeans are afraid that Trump is walking away from our leadership role in the Western world, and so am I. I'm terrified of that.
Tony, we've spent the last 4 years fighting this, spending money in Ukraine. Get the peace deal done. If it means 25 miles, that's fine.
If Trump is right, 14 presidents going back to 1950 are wrong. I'm not willing to bet he's right and those 14 presidents are wrong. Not one of them.
Wrong about what?
Wrong about Trump's approach to the world. He's probably going to give up Ukraine, and that's what Europe is afraid of.
I'm going to hold you that, Tony. I don't think he's given up Ukraine. I think he's going to get peace done. This was a war that never should happen, and it didn't happen under his first term. Tony, appreciate the call. I got to get to a bunch of other callers here. Tony's line's open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's go to Mary, Wyoming. Good morning, Mary. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Hi, good morning. Listening to Tony, I understand what he's saying, but what I'm struggling with is that what he didn't also, that it sounds like he read the same article I did, was that Trump was also saying one of the reasons he's hesitating or slowing down is he wants to address the security issue. He's talking about part of that deal would include that America would be doing flyovers over Ukraine as a safety precaution for him. I think that people are not giving Trump enough credit. Personally, my first response when I was listening to Billy was, let's butt out of the negotiations. Let's let Trump do what he does. He does do deal, and I don't think this is a stupid man. And I feel that what is not taking effect, Jeff, I side with what you have been saying, because what it's not dealing with, all the wars that we've been in for other countries, World War II, etc. I mean, what's going through my mind is how many more of our people have to suffer. I listened to Billy and you talk about your family life and how great the things that you get to do. I didn't get to do that because my dad from World War II was a sniper, had PTSD, was hospitalized most of his life. I didn't have the wonderful, you don't deal with those kind of things because we keep interfering in these wars. My significant other died in Vietnam. Korea, disabled. I mean, I paid for our freedom. If someone comes after us, yes, we go after them. I'm tired of doing this for every other country. Let them fight their own battles. I don't want to see any more of our treasure maimed, etc. I want what you guys were able to do for your families now.
Well, Mary,
because we have peace in this country.
I agree with you. And what I've seen is it's always justified, right? If we don't step in, the people of South Vietnam are going to be taken over by North Vietnam, and it's going to be terrible. If we don't step in, little girls in Afghanistan aren't going to go to school. If we don't step in, Afghanis are going to be ruled by a tyrant. If we don't step in, if we don't step in, and as a result, we're spending this. Look, this isn't just tens of thousands or even a few $1 million. This is tens, hundreds of millions of dollars, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow. I want to your point, Mary, see what Donald Trump can do here. We didn't have this war under his leadership. He's a good negotiator. I've read The Art of the Deal. I think this is his God-given gift, is negotiation. I would like to see what he can do with it. And I agree with Zelensky that at the end of the day, when this thing needs to be signed, Ukraine has a seat at the table. So I don't get all the controversy about it.
I got a question for both of you. What's the level of involvement we currently have in Ukraine versus places like the things that Jeff outlined, Afghanistan and Vietnam? Are they the same or are they different? And if so, how different?
Mary, you want to start?
I would say it's held over our heads that we may end up in a ground war. And what to me I don't think is being addressed is Russia has China in their pocket, and North Korea. I mean, if this thing it could go global.
See now, Mary, on that one, Mary, I would go the other direction. Russia does not have China in their pocket. China has Russia in their pocket, and China has North Korea in their pocket. And so part of what I see in this conflict in Ukraine is that Russia's position in the world internationally has been eroded. Their economy has been eroded. They're now acquiescing to China. They're now China's. I can't say that word. I was going to say something offensive, and people have complained about that.
Does it begin with a D?
Yes, it does. Absolutely, it does. Thank you, Mary. I love you. You're the best. And so, and then for me, I understand the idea of not wanting to get American boots or American blood onto Ukrainian soil. But from where I was sitting so far, this has been a phenomenal deal. We have destroyed Russian military power. They've lost over a third of their enlisted men. They've lost about 25% of their actual hard military equipment. And we haven't shed a single drop of blood. And 60% of the aid that we have provided for them has come back to the U.S. because what we've done is we've cleaned out shelves of old artillery, of old machinery, of old equipment, sent it to them. And now we are getting U.S. defense contractors to replenish our shelves, something that needed to be done anyway. And if we are going to be able to modernize and upgrade our military at the same time that we are able to basically take apart one of the larger militaries that is an enemy of ours in the U.S. and not shed a single drop of blood, for me, that's a decent deal. I take that deal every day because I'm not risking the lives of the people that you talked about, Mary, that were so important to you and so important to Jeff and I. We're not risking those lives, but we are accomplishing something that is significant without doing that. I don't understand why we don't take that deal.
But we're spending ourselves in, that's costing us, and look at how much money we're paying on the interest. We're borrowing that money to do this.
But
and
some
look
of it
at how
comes
much
back,
the interest,
but 60%,
it's
but
what?
60%
$1 trillion
comes back to
every
us.
3 months?
But 60%, I don't think we're spending $1 trillion over 3 months, but even then, I could be wrong about that easily. But 60% of that comes back to us. And that would be paying American contractors, paying American companies, paying American consultants. So that the idea is this ends up being somewhat of a jobs program and an economic boost to Americans. We're not going in and throwing the money down a hole in Ukraine. There have been some issues there with fraud and waste, and we found some. But when over 50% of it's coming here.
Home in London. What
actually,
did he do? He bought
actually,
Charles
Mary,
thing?
that's not true. The stuff about
Zelensky,
true? Nope. The stuff about Zelensky getting a yacht and getting a house and stuff like that have been disproven. That is misinformation that came out of Russia. And the way that was disproven was you actually could go and look at the listings for those houses. There also were rumors about him buying houses here in America. You could see those houses were one still up for sale and never sold. Same thing with the yacht. The yacht was still up for sale and never sold. That was Russian disinformation. He has not done that and has not spent that money.
I hope not. I would like to see, like I said, some accounting, on where that money's really gone. You say 60% has come back.
60.
I can
60.
believe that.
Yeah,
60. I think that is supportive. But going back to your issue, Russia signaled all at the very beginning. I mean, when they started moving their tanks and their personnel, et cetera, it took them, it wasn't 4 months before they got it in place, before they actually invaded?
Yeah.
So my point is that they were, and why weren't we negotiating at that point to find out, okay, what is it that is going to, prevent this? That did not happen. This war did not need to be going on. And I mean, and I think that what Joe was saying on the why, there's some merit in there. There's a grain of salt in, definitely.
Yeah. Now, Mary, let's talk about the negotiation. So Russia starts amassing troops across the border. What do you want to negotiate with them? Do you want to start giving them territory of Ukraine? Do you want to start making other, deals with them? Are we, if we do that, are we just telling Putin, all you got to do is line up a whole bunch of tanks and military on the border of a country that we're an ally of, and we will give you what you want? Isn't that just like the negative thing of a kid who's in the store and throws a tantrum and then you give them the candy that they want? Of course, the kid's going to, next time you go into the store, kid's going to throw a tantrum. Aren't you just reinforcing the bad behavior?
No, but Billy, I would want, okay, what is it that you want? So I know what I'm getting ready to put my stuff together to go and fight for. It'd be really nice if there had been some discussion. I mean, you saw it happening, and everyone just sat by. I mean, I've read, all the thing I kept saying.
I disagree that everybody sat by.
Why aren't somebody doing something?
I disagree that everyone sat by. There were some things that we were doing with Ukraine at the time. There was no negotiation. The whole narrative that Donald Trump has said about a negotiation and Kamala Harris not negotiating with Putin and stuff is not correct. That's not correct based on the timeline. Kamala Harris went there to basically shore up Ukraine. There shouldn't have been any negotiation. Russia refused it. But the other thing is, Russia said said they were coming into Ukraine to do things like fight the Nazis and other stuff, of which was not true. And they also had false premises for invading Crimea. And so the idea that when you come to Russia and say, what is it you want and why are you upset about this? The reasons that Russia gave publicly for why they were invading just were not true. They lied. I have someone on the text messages here that believes the Russian lies so much, they're sending in the fact that Putin is a Christian and he's there because Ukrainians are not Christians and he's rooting out the evil. No, Putin is not a Christian, and Putin is destroying churches and killing Christians inside of Ukraine. We've had personal reports from that inside the country. So, but that's how far the Russian disinformation has spread on this one.
Why do you believe everything the Ukrainians say? In other words, like, why is everything they say exactly honest and right on top?
I haven't just taken everything that they've said, but we have a person.
Oh, really?
Hang on. We have a person that has joined the show twice so far that is working on the ground there. It's an American that is trying to fund the resistance inside of Ukraine, and he's talked to us about who he's talked to, what he's seen. He's seen the Russians going in and destroying the churches. He's talked to people where they've been captured that are Christians, and people, members of the parish, have been tortured and killed. He's talked to those individuals. I trust that guy. I also trust some of the other information systems that have verified some of the things that has been said inside of Ukraine. So I trust but verify the stuff that has been coming out of Ukraine. I want to make sure that I find 2 to 3 other sources for it to make sure that it backs up. And I can't find that on the Russian side, but in some of the cases with Ukraine, yeah, I find that.
Mary,
that's why I trust it.
Great call. Sure. Awesome to talk to you.
Thanks
so much. Mary's line will be open 303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Ohio in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Doge has released its latest round of cuts, including hundreds of millions in wasteful contracts that have been canceled, including $486 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia, $40 million for Gender Equality and Women Empowerment Hub, $29 million to strengthening political landscape in Bangladesh, $32 million to the Prague Civil Society Center, and $20 million for fiscal federalism in Nepal, along with dozens more contracts. Elon Musk and his Doge team have been working day and night to cut waste, fraud, and abuse out of the federal government, eliminating more than $102 billion so far. Doge listing in detail everything that is being cut on X and the Doge website in the sake of complete transparency. Thousands of fans at the Daytona 500 cheering wildly as Air Force One flew over the track before President Donald Trump made an appearance to watch the race. Trump took to the track with his granddaughter in tow, then took a lap in the Beast while giving a good luck radio message to drivers at Daytona.
This is your favorite president. I just want you to be safe. Have a good day, have a lot of fun, and I'll see you later.
That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Ohio, Salem News Channel.
back to the Jeff and Bill Show. What do you think of possible negotiations taking place between Trump and Russia, bringing Ukraine into it? Should Ukraine be the first meetings that Trump has? Then we'll go talk to Russia, or just go straight talk to the aggressor. Figure it out. Let's go to the phone lines. Francis Golden. Good morning, Francis. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Hey, guys. Hey, I really think this NATO stuff was a pretext for the invasion. And I do fall into the camp of thinking that if Trump were president, I don't think Putin would have done this. Just because, and I think there was no foreseeable peace to be that the U.S. could have helped broker at all with Biden, because there was simply nobody there. I mean, Biden was just gone. And so anything I think is pointed in the correct direction here. My problem is that I do think it looks bad to start with the aggressor and discussing things. And I don't want Russia to get any benefit whatsoever out of this aggression, because look, and it's not, Joe's just wrong. They haven't been doing this for 1,000 years and this and that. It's nothing like the Middle East conflict, if that's the intent of the comment. But Russia's always viewed Ukrainians as kind of like a satellite state, like there's some large portion, although in a minority, that are ethnically Russian. There's people who speak Russian, but there's also people who, majority who are not ethnically Russian and don't speak Russian in Ukraine. And they kind of view, I think Russia views Ukraine as kind of we view Canada, or certainly as Trump views Canada, let's put it that way. And I don't think that there's really, that isn't how it goes. That isn't, we're not similar culturally. I mean, there's parallels, but it's not the same. And I just think you don't, that's why there was a pretext invasion, and it was the NATO pretext, because fundamentally NATO's been around for how long? And it's never actually done anything, that Russia would have a reason to fear. It's a treaty that is mutual defense treaty, similar to what the old Soviet Union had with the SIETO, I think was how I pronounced it. But so it doesn't. None of this stuff lines up like that. And really, Russia's already got a satellite little puppet state in Belarus as it is. They're not going to invade Belarus. Belarus is completely aligned with Russia in everything. I hope that Trump can maybe get some traction on this stuff. It's a bad look to keep the Europeans who actually have a stake in the game out of it. And we've, to my knowledge, I don't think we've lost any actual American military individuals in this war whatsoever. I think we've given a little over $50 million, which we were the primary defensive support donor, but that's it.
Yeah. And Francis, I want to ask you though, and I appreciate you not wanting to give Putin an inch of land, not reward him at all in this. I wonder though, if you can only approach it that way if you've totally defeated your enemy, right? Like if we're looking at Germany post-World War II, Japan post-World War II, yeah, you do what we tell you to do because we were dropping nukes on you. We beat you into submission, but we didn't do that with Russia. And if we're going to go and negotiate with Russia, giving up a little bit of land, Crimea, all that, in order to get some peace, I don't know. Doesn't seem too bad to me.
I think that we have a historical reference for this, and I think it's Hitler. I mean, Hitler, as an authoritarian leader, just stormed through neighboring countries under the pretext that he needed, living room, and that there were people who were culturally aligned with Germany. And, here Russia hasn't done that. As a matter of fact, they've been basically beaten to a stalemate, if not worse. And so why reward them with anything? They made a fool's errand out of this whole thing. We didn't fully defeat them. And Francis, I don't want to go to full-on war with Russia. I don't want my sons being drafted to go fight a war with Russia. I don't like them. I think they're terrible. They're horrible on religious freedom. And Putin's an authoritarian. Yes, I don't have the world the way I want it to be. But I'm not going to sacrifice our sons and daughters for a war that doesn't directly affect America and our land. And so, and he hasn't won, or he hasn't been totally defeated either. This is like,
oftentimes when you're in policy making and you get to the point where nobody's happy, well, maybe that's a good place to be.
I don't like the look of Trump sitting down with the aggressor who hasn't won anything. And because here's the other thing, look, let's face it, Trump and Putin have somewhat of a history here. And it bothers me that Putin kind of uses the conservative right as a kind of support mechanism. I mean, he did that Tucker Carlson interview where, he basically turned Tucker Carlson into his sock puppet. And I don't think he's going to necessarily do that with Trump.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But it's terrible. He won that PR event entirely, not even close.
Wait,
and
Francis?
That's where you get these people calling.
When you say that you don't think Putin is going to be able to do that to Donald Trump, I'm going to remind you of one instance. I'm not going to say he has the ability to, but I'm going to remind you of one instance. And this would be about the meddling of Russia in the 2020 election or the 2016 election. And he said all Western intelligence, including our own and all of European intelligence, said that Russia was meddling in the election. And Donald Trump's response was, I looked Putin in his eyes. I asked him, and he said, no, I don't know why he'd lied to me. So before we assume, so before we assume that Putin will not be able to manipulate Trump, there's an example, in my opinion, of Putin manipulating Trump. Trump was able to ignore all of our intelligence, all of NATO intelligence, all of Western European intelligence that all point to the same thing. And because Putin said, no, I promise, he believed that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a sock puppet moment for Trump. And I don't think, I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping that Trump can find a spine here a little bit. I've always felt Trump is more or less a faux tough guy. I don't think he's a real tough guy. I think that, he's a squawker, and that's usually how you tell people who aren't very tough. And I think Putin, though, on the other hand, I think he's a absolutely crafty. He's a horrible human being. I mean, there is a special place in hell for Vladimir Putin, the Christian.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't trust him as far as I could throw him, and I don't think Trump should, and I don't think anybody with any sense should. And I think you're leaving yourself open to be manipulated here. And of course, the Europeans should be there. I mean, why are we not engaging the Europeans first in this, including Ukraine? Ukraine's always identified with the West as opposed to the East. That's historic. I mean, that's what's happened. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. It's a bad look. It's a bad look, and it leaves yourself open for mistakes.
I want to address this because
that's a problem. Let's face it. You got to call a spade here.
Francis, great call. Thank you so much. Francis's line will be open 303-696-1971. I want to address this because this is important. 7201. Putin is not anti-Christian. He's a Christian fighting homosexual and a corrupt country. So Putin has absolutely fought the LGBTQ rainbow mafia mentality. Absolutely. Okay. But I represented persecuted Christians for years in Washington, D.C. I created the first international scorecard on religious freedom. All right. To track our lawmakers on their commitment to religious freedom. The idea that there's religious freedom in Russia, the idea that somehow Russia is a Christian country, it is not at all. It's a wildly corrupt country. In fact, when I visited with Young Life, which is an evangelical ministry to Russia, I got arrested every single day at lunchtime to pay the police officers lunch. I had to bribe my way out of every single day I was there during lunchtime. Because they would hear me talking English and then just go up and go, oh, passport problem. Oh, but if you give me some money, I'll go away.
And the only reason the Christian church exists in Russia is because Putin allows it.
It is not. I mean, you got to get that out of your mind.
No.
The idea that this is somehow a Christian nation that is full of Christian values with a great Christian leader. Not at all. It is wildly hostile to religious freedom.
Yeah.
You don't have Baptist church. You don't have the Catholic church there. You don't have anything like that.
And the other part is, if he's doing that to root out the homosexual problem in Ukraine, that means he's willing to basically create cleansing. That's the question that I have for the texture. So we're going in there to fight against the homosexuals. I'm curious about who you think he's supposed to shoot at that point. And if you think that it would be okay to show up at some parades here in the U.S. and shoot at those same people, maybe throw them in jail, maybe do, because that's what you're talking about. So be careful. Before you text that, run it through your head just a couple of seconds before you text things in the open that are things like that.
Give us a call. Join the conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show at the phone line. Jim Littleton. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. I was just going to say, did you just say that Russia is not a Christian country?
Yes.
Man, I've heard some ignorant things on this station, but man, you really hit the high part there.
How's the Catholic Church doing in Russia?
Okay, listen, my friend, you need to understand a little bit of Christianity there.
How are the Baptists doing in Russia?
You know what?
How are the Presbyterians doing in Russia?
Bible. Are you following the Schofield Bible?
No.
You don't? Okay. Well, you know what? I got to tell you this. I got relatives over there. You know what they look? When you have the Baptists and they'll go over there, they look at it the same way as we look at Mormons coming to our door. So you know what?
But Baptists are Mormons. So how is religious freedom doing in Russia?
I'm not going to
go proclaim the gospel on the side of the street in Russia.
It's not doing good in Ukraine either.
Right, but you just told me that Russia's a Christian nation. I just asked you if you can go. Can you go proclaim the gospel on the side of the road in Russia?
They're not going to. Okay,
in a Christian nation, you can't proclaim the gospel?
It is a Christian nation. It is a Christian nation. It's a different type of Christianity. Oh, it's Russian Orthodox. What do you know about Russian Orthodox?
Well, what do you mean? What do I know about Russian Orthodox?
It is a Russian Orthodox country. You know, you have Greek Orthodox, you got Russian Orthodox. How did that happen?
Right. Well, there was a schism, a split in the church.
Correct. And what caused that?
I don't know.
Hey, again, who cares?
I mean,
who cares? Let's go back to the
figure out whether or not
it's a
Christian nation.
Who cares?
I mean, but
who cares why they split?
It's not a Christian country is the most ignorant. It's like saying all of South America is not Christian.
I think there's more religious freedom in South America than there is Russia. Jim, I think you're broken on this one. Sorry. I've been there. It's not a Christian nation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is KNUS.
9 a.m. Mile High City on this Monday, February 17th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. We've got a lot to cover this hour. I want to get to the restaurants in Denver in a last-ditch effort to try to keep their doors open, sending a letter to Mayor Mike Johnston. But I got to bring this up because there's so many text messages here, Bill. I got to just address this.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me help remind everybody that for about 100 years, Russia was the Soviet Union, a communist country. Okay. And unless you failed your history classes, communism and Christianity don't get along. In fact, the communist countries actively seek to persecute and shut down Christian churches. They see them as a threat. This goes back to Karl Marx and the idea of religions, the opiate in the masses, all that stuff, okay? Communists hate Christians. And for 80 years, the Soviet Union actively persecuted Christians and shut down churches, okay? Then all of a sudden, we're going to become a Christian nation. Guys, give me a break. I've been to Russia to serve with evangelical groups, okay? It is not a Christian nation the same way America is a Christian nation, not even close. And while you can technically, yes, practice Christianity, you cannot actively preach the gospel or engage in public proselytization. It's significantly restricted by law in Russia.
Also, if you're not a part of the Russian Orthodox Church, you're not allowed. It's not about a choice or freedom of religion. It's about what is allowed from the state. And remember, we've quoted on this station a number of times the statements coming out of the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church, and it is nothing more than Russian propaganda. He has over and over again given voice to stuff that Putin wants people to say or be afraid of. He is just following in lockstep. That is a church that is allowed to exist because Putin gives it its blessing and allows it to continue. Those people, if they started to fight back or do anything as far as religious freedom, would cease to be alive. This is not a religious freedom. And the idea that Russia went into Ukraine to fight the Nazis, the anti-Christians, or the homosexuals is nothing more than Russian propaganda. That is ridiculous. If you have been fed that by any of your information sources, you need to stop listening to them because they're lying to you. They're just lying to you. You need to find some different sources of information.
I mean, I'm reading Assemblies of God articles right now about how they're having their churches shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, come on.
Yeah. And we had the guy that was on the station here a couple of times talking about the Christians that were being tortured in Ukraine by Russian soldiers, about churches that were being destroyed by Russian soldiers. That one of their questions was asking what religion you are, and if you were an official of a local church, that meant you were going to get extra torture.
Here's Assemblies of God article just this last year, okay? Assemblies of God, which are little Pentecostals, right? Like the movement of the Spirit, they're great. They're totally within the Christian tradition, right? Late on the afternoon of July 7th, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed into law legislation against terrorism and extremism. An amendment in this law prohibits freedom of religion in a way that is considered the most restrictive measure in post-Soviet history. The law, which was passed in the upper and lower houses of Russian parliament on June 24th, could go into effect as early as July 20th. Under this law, all personal evangelism on the streets and in individual homes is now restricted. Evangelizing outside of registered churches will result in fines. Christians meeting in homes are not allowed to invite unbelievers. Christians wishing to share their faith must secure government permits through registered religious organizations. Even with such permits, they are not allowed to witness anywhere besides registered churches and religious sites. Churches that rent rather than owning facilities will be forcefully disbanded. Besides rendering evangelism illegal, the law will also punish not reporting violations. Russian believers and missionaries will be under constant scrutiny of officials and even neighbors. Individuals found guilty of violating the new law will be fined up to $800, while organizations found in violation will be fined up to $15,500. Foreigners found in violation will be deported. That's missionaries. All aspects of the law also apply to internet activities. So, guys, I'm not into the, we've had a big conversation for the last 2 hours about negotiating peace with Russia and Ukraine, and I think there can be peace there, and I'm willing to give up some land in order to get peace there, and I even understand Russia not wanting NATO neighbors, okay? But this idea that somehow Russia is this great Christian nation with all this religious freedom, give me a break. All right, let's go back to the phone lines, and we'll get to Blake in a second. Let's go to Mark, Denver. Good morning, Mark. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, how are you guys doing?
Fired up.
Seems like you're mad this morning. At one time, Russia was religious before the communists came.
Yes.
But here's
correct.
what I want to say. These days, there's no wars, it's conflicts. And, being a young man and the young people, they're the first ones to go from high school or drafted. And this is what I like to see these days. When people say we, not being a combat vet or anything like that, I think we should raise the draft age from 18 to 50. What do you think? I think that's more than fair. So we can have some really smart people in there with young people. What do you think?
Yeah, I get the point because, look, if we're going to send people to war, it should be the old guys because oftentimes it's their choice. I hate the fact that we sacrifice our youngest for these wars. And I've changed. Look, I remember being a young guy, wanted to run off and join the military, took the ASVAB, did ROTC, did all that stuff. And I was gung-ho on the idea of joining the military. And I remember my dad always being really hesitant on it. He was in the 60s in Boulder, just going, we're sending our sons off to fight these wars that shouldn't be ours to begin with. He was at the height of Vietnam and all that stuff. And now that I have sons, the idea that I would commit my son to fighting a Russian for Ukrainian land sounds insane to me.
Would you go with him, Jeff?
No.
Would you go?
No, I'd rather go than
Why?
him. But I don't think we should be shedding American blood in order to stop Russia in Ukraine.
Right. Yeah, but would you go and fight instead of your son?
Yeah, I would. Yes, 100%.
There you go. How about Billy?
How about me? What?
Would you fight a war instead of your son?
Depends on what and where we're talking about. What war? What's the conflict? Things like that.
Is it a conflict? There's no wars anymore. It's conflict.
Yeah.
Would you
depends on where it is and what.
Before you send your son?
Depends on what it is and what. Because the idea is, I believe.
So you send your son and you stay home.
Marcus, wait. I believe you are setting up a false premise, as if it is one choice or the other. No. Wait, the issue is
you got one
Marcus,
decision.
I know that's what I'm saying is I believe you've set up the false premise. I want to see what the conflict is and anything else before I say that either my son or myself would go. That now, if it was something where, and now the thing is, this is what I wanted. I just want to know what the conflict is. If it's a choice of one person going instead of the other, yes, I would probably go instead of my son simply because of it. But Marcus, here's the idea. It's because, I believe most adults would make this choice simply because of age, because the opportunity available to the younger generations is much wider, larger, and expansive than what it is for the older generations. I've run my race.
That's right.
I'm very close to the end of my race. The other part of this, though, that we have to acknowledge is if we staff and we basically set up an entire military of dudes that are over 50, I'm not certain how much crap we're winning because
half and half.
But again, why half and half? Why couldn't everybody be offered that? And that's the idea: is if you're going to give everybody the choice, you have to.
But on a draft, that's all. We need to have a balance.
Yeah, but I don't think we would have a balance, because I don't think that gets to a balance.
Show up.
I know, but I don't think that's necessarily
the
a balance
we,
inside.
They always say this and this and this. They never show up. Who are we? Would you do it? But
interesting point, Marcus. Thanks for the call.
And our president had a chance to show up, and he didn't. Just want to put that on the table,
but
too.
neither of you and I. So let's go.
I'm totally honest about that.
News for Blake
Olson. Blake Olson, news and comment.
All right, thanks a lot, Jeff and Billy. 24 degrees and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 37 on President's Day. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office identified the man a deputy shot and killed while responding to an active shooter at the main event off 470 in Highlands Ranch last week. The man, now identified as 23-year-old Jalen Sebron of Arapahoe County, was outside the main event with a gun. The deputy shot Sebron after the man had turned toward him and defied orders to drop the gun. Multiple media outlets cite sources saying the IRS will be letting go of probationary workers as part of 47's efforts to reduce the federal government workforce. At least 10 people are dead after severe storms hit the southeast. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear confirmed that 9 people were killed in extreme flooding across the state. European leaders are scheduled to meet for an emergency summit in Paris today.
No European representative in terms of a seat at the table, no representative from Ukraine. And I think that's a concern. It's a concern to Europe, which has contributed tens of millions of dollars to helping out Ukraine militarily and economically. I say millions, I meant billions of dollars economically and financially over the course of the past 3 years. And they want to figure out, from the European perspective, what a peace looks like, what security looks like once a peace is ultimately achieved between Russia and Ukraine.
NBC White House correspondent John Decker on with the fellas this morning. DJT spoke with Russian President Putin about negotiating an end to that war.
I think he wants to stop fighting. I see that. We spoke long and hard. Steve Witkoff was with him for a very extended period, like about 3 hours. I think he wants to stop fighting. They have a big, powerful machine. You understand that. And they defeated Hitler and they defeated Napoleon. They've been fighting a long time. They've done it before. And but I think he'd like this. I think he would like to stop fighting.
Patriotic Day at Daytona Sunday. 47 was there. Second time he's done this. His car, the Beast, was the pace car.
He's going to pace the field? Yep. Love it.
Gosh, it's awesome. Mike, people ask me, do you miss it? Are you jealous of those competitors out there? Today, right now, I am. I would love to be in this Daytona 500 field out there competing today. This is just so special.
DJT talked to the drivers as he led the field around the track, Jeff.
Well, I was going to say, did you ever see the Jeff Gordon ad, the Pepsi one, where he goes to a car dealership and does a test drive?
I think I remember.
Oh, my gosh. And the guy is just like they had built a little track for him to go, and he's like driving through warehouses and stuff like that.
Oh,
but
that's
the
cool.
Guy is losing his mind because Gordon's taking him around turns at 80 miles an hour and drifting and all that stuff, and drives up on a loading platform, and just the guy's about to have a heart attack.
I think I remember that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look
so
that one
funny.
Up.
Jeff Gordon was hilarious in that.
No doubt. That's a good one. I'll check that one out. So here's DJT talking to the drivers.
This is your favorite president. I'm a big fan. I am a really big fan of you people that you do this. I don't know, but I just want you to be safe. You're talented people, and you're great people and great Americans. Have a good day. Have a lot of fun, and I'll see you later.
William Byron wins the race, and Canadians booed the American national anthem in Canada, in Montreal, as USA proceeded to beat them down. And they win the game 3-1 in the Four Nations face-off. There were 3 fights in 9 seconds on the ice after the national anthem was booed.
We're going to drop the gloves right away.
And the crowd went wild. It was an awesome scene. Margaret Brennan tried to catch Marco Rubio, but he brought the hammer down when Brennan was talking out the side of her neck regarding J.D. Vance's European speech in Germany and the lack of historical knowledge.
And some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history. I also think it's wrong. Again, I go back to the point of his speech. Okay, the point of his speech was basically that there is an erosion in free speech and intolerance for opposing points of view within Europe, and that's of concern because that is eroding this.
Absolutely.
So
as we speak,
I mean, I want to take a moment to just think about this. Okay. CBS News, Margaret Brennan says free speech help lead to the Holocaust. Okay. I mean, like, it's
where I'm so confused.
I know, isn't it? So this is what's called the Weimar fallacy. Okay. And our friends over at FIRE, the free speech organization, quickly responded to this stuff yesterday. Yeah. Okay. They even brought up one of their fellows, their senior fellows at the free speech organization, the daughter of Holocaust survivors, to explain how the idea that free speech led to Nazism is exactly the opposite from what happened. Okay. They actually censored Adolf Hitler to the point where they pretty much allowed anybody to have free speech except for him. And that led essentially to a backlash that resulted in the Nazis winning the initial elections and then taking control. So they said that this Weimar fallacy was that Germany had plenty of hate speech codes. Indeed, Hitler was banned from speaking in parts of Germany. The censorship did nothing but make Hitler a martyr.
Right.
Goebbels conducted a whole propaganda campaign on the back of it, saying he alone of 2 billion people on earth may not speak in Germany. Germany had no free speech, no rule of law, and millions have died because of it.
Yes.
I mean,
it's
and Margaret Brennan is a journalist who relies on the First Amendment to be able to do her job.
No doubt. She should have talked about the New York Times not using free speech and reporting on it. I mean, that was a huge problem in the West as well.
I mean, and then you listen to this piece done by 60 Minutes. I want to just listen to this real quick. These are German prosecutors talking about what they do to stop people engaging in, quote, hate speech.
Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes, it is.
And
it's a crime to insult. Okay, listen.
Right.
Today I'm going to go down to the anti-Trump rally down outside the Capitol. They're down there at noon again. Yep, because it's try to drop by. It's so much fun to interview these people. Okay, because the logic stops 2 steps in. So I could spend all day down there, and I probably will. I have a ton of fun. I was there on February 5th. Okay, listen to this again.
Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes, it is.
And it's a crime.
Okay. Yeah. The entire march The entire anti-Trump march by these progressives was an insult to Donald Trump. I mean, they were shouting, F Trump, F Trump. This. I mean, they had the most obscene signs out there. Donald Trump should do this. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was,
of course.
Okay. So progressives have no problem whatsoever insulting Donald Trump.
Right. And who's the judge and jury on that? I mean, where is the line?
Well, and that's what you get out of this. Oh my gosh! And to watch these German prosecutors gleefully laugh.
The line on it is truth.
I mean,
that's no, but Blake was asking the line.
Yeah,
the line on this is truth. And
in Germany?
Yes, the German.
It's not the line is not truth.
Yes, it is.
No, you have to be respectful. In fact, that's the line. No, you have to actually. You can be perfectly truthful, and not be respectful, and still get charged by these guys.
That's not how I'm reading.
Respectful dialogue. I watched the whole 20-minute thing on CBS.
That's not how I'm reading their criminal code. I understand, but inside their criminal code, they do outline that truth is an absolute defense. That if the insults that you are hurling are actually true, then it's not considered the same thing. So truth is an insult. So the idea being, and
that's just so stupid.
You got to go to court to prove
that is
truth.
No, but hang on.
In this stuff.
Yeah, but we've had to do that. Remember, Fox News wrote a nearly $800 million check because they couldn't prove this election was stolen. The whole people down the state capitol yelling F Trump, F Trump, F Trump are not engaging in truth. Yeah,
and they may think they are. But that's what freedom of speech is.
What drove me nuts about this whole piece was when they're sitting there laughing about how they had to confiscate these phones. Oh, well, did they like having their phones confiscated? No, they didn't. Did they like having their doors kicked in? No, they didn't. But they posted a meme. JD Vance was so spot on critiquing this, and they all do it in the defense of democracy. Oh, we want to protect democracy by taking away your rights to freedom of speech.
Yep.
Goodness gracious.
It's frightening. It is absolutely frightening. And every one of them, all three of them that were sitting there are satanic devil worshipers. That's who they are. Missing CU Boulder student's body may have been found. The woman matched the description of 18-year-old Megan Trussell, who went missing from her residence hall on February 9th. The Boulder County Sheriff's Office said that they were notified that a woman's body had been found near the 40-mile marker of Boulder Canyon that afternoon. All right, the Nuggets return to action on Thursday night in Lodo. They play host to the Hornets. If you missed this over the weekend, Matt McClung won the dunk contest for the third straight year. He jumped over a 7-footer and a car at the same time and threw it down behind his head. He doesn't even play in the NBA. He's in the developmental league, and he's the only draw to All-Star Weekend. As far as I'm concerned, the thing was absolutely incredible. And all the NBA players are, just amazed by what he did. They sit out the dunk contest, and a guy that doesn't even play in the association is the draw and with the biggest play of the weekend. So congratulations to him. If they were smart, they'd let him play every game. I mean, LeBron's son plays in NBA games. They might as well let him play. I mean, he would actually help the NBA come back to life, maybe, but incredible. 20 degrees in Castle Rock, 22 in North Glen, 24 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Enjoy today's relatively mild temperatures because Arctic air is going to back westward into Colorado's plains and Front Range areas tomorrow and especially by tomorrow night and Wednesday. Watch for some areas of fog early, otherwise partly cloudy, highs mid to upper 30s today. There will be a chance of snow showers later today and snow showers tonight. Lows will be upper single digits to low teens. Highs only teens and 20s Tuesday, cloudy with a few snow showers. A bit of light snow. Very cold Tuesday night. Lows will be single digits to near zero. Highs only lower 20s with a chance of snow showers Wednesday. Meteorologist Ande in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Before we get back to the regularly scheduled part of the program, I want to take a moment to talk to you about a brand new advertiser here, Wound Care Associates of Colorado. They've come into Colorado and changed the game when you're dealing with chronic wounds. It seems like, a slow healing cut, a diabetic ulcer, a pressure sore doesn't seem like a big deal. You got other things going on in your life, but that small cut and wound can become a very big deal. Torn skin and tissue is the perfect place for dirt, germs, bacteria to enter your body. And if you have a slow healing cut, a diabetic ulcer, a pressure sore, things can go south fairly quickly. Jennifer, who started Wound Care Associates of Colorado, talks about her uncle, who had some comorbidities, diabetes, neuropathy, developed a small cut on his toe. That was the least of his worries. It's a small cut. Those heal, right? They've healed the rest of our lives. Why would this one be a danger? Well, that one got infected. And by the time he sought medical attention, he needed to have part of his foot amputated. And that was supposed to cure it. But it didn't. It didn't stop the infection because it had gotten so far into his blood, his organs, and his bones. A couple of days later, he passed away from a simple cut on his foot. That's why ignoring the problem doesn't fix the problem. I had a personal experience with this in my family with my aunt. She'd had a long cut that was not really healing. She got MRSA, spent numerous weeks inside the hospital, and ended up with some amputations because of it. So ignoring the problem isn't going to fix the problem. That's why you need to reach out to Wound Care Associates of Colorado if someone in your life has a diabetic ulcer, pressure sores, slow healing cuts. They're changing the game here in Colorado because first, they're doing it old school. They're doing it like the concierge service. They will come to your home. When you go to coloradowound.com to contact the Wound Care Associates of Colorado, they will set up your personal first visit with a wound certified nurse who will come to your house in the privacy, comfort, and care of your own home to create a tailor-made plan. They'll talk to you about what they need to do to heal the wound, and it's going to reduce the risk of complications and promote faster healing. That's important. Too many wound facilities around Colorado just want to maintain the wound, not fix it. That still means that your tissue, your skin is still open for business for the dirt, germs, and bacteria. That doesn't help, does it? No. You're not going to go see a doctor that's going to say, well, we're just going to make sure that broken bone doesn't get any worse. No, let's heal it, doc. How about we do that thing? That's what you get with Wound Care Associates in Colorado. Contact them at coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com. You get the treatment you need in the private comfort and convenience of your own home. It's personalized treatment that is specifically designed for you and your wound, and it's going to reduce the risk of getting a secondary infection. Don't mess around. Wound Care Associates of Colorado. Contact them today, coloradowound.com, coloradowound.com. And when you do, tell me you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show.
That's great to hear, Bill. All right. Want to talk to you guys now about this letter. This was wild. Denver Gazette reporting a letter to Mayor Mike Johnston. Denver restaurants say they're now watching downtown fall completely apart. Restaurant owners say they are dismayed with the progress to revive the core city. Several downtown restaurants said they are at a boiling point with the state of downtown. In a letter to Mayor Mike Johnston, the city leader sent last week, Dave Query, owner of Jack's Fish House and Oyster Bar, expressed frustration with the mayor, noting he had promised on the campaign trail to turn downtown around. Several other major restaurateurs in downtown Denver signed on to Query's letter, including owners from Illegals Pete's. By the way, that's not like a conservative bastion. When you walk into Legal Pete's, they got rainbow flags, BLM stuff everywhere. Cholon Restaurant Concepts and Union Station's restaurant operators. You ran your entire campaign platform on restoring our downtown Denver business districts, Query said in his letter. It has gotten worse since you took the position of mayor, even though you received $550 million towards stewarding it in a different direction. The Boulder-based chef behind BRF Restaurant Group said downtown's traffic plan and new bike paths implemented in the last 2 years have taken up parking spaces and made it more difficult for customers to come to their businesses. In addition, food trucks are taking parking spots and bringing in more competition. He also pointed to a series of stabbings on the 16th Street Mall, over a January weekend where 2 people were killed and 2 injured. That was that flight attendant. Oh, this is the current vibe and energy on our downtown streets, and our longtime Lodo and Larimer guests are now driving to Cherry Creek and Northfield and Golden for dinner and entertainment, Corey wrote. We are now watching the 10th district, which is that area around the 16th Street Mall, fall completely apart. The entire downtown traffic plan and bike path cluster implemented over the last 2 years is a catastrophic disaster. Spokesperson for the mayor's office reiterated the mayor's goal to make downtown a safe place for workers, residents, tourists, and businesses. All right, so what gets me about this is like, Bill, we have been yelling from the rooftops for well over a year now that it is failing in the city of Denver. I used to organize a 2,000 person conference down at the convention center, and we left in 2023 was the last year we held it down there because of all the problems. This is not something that is just a shock to the mayor. Particularly conservatives have been making an issue about this. And I would like to point out that I remember a certain journalist from a prominent news organization here in Colorado that said the people that were raising concerns about the direction of downtown were, I got to find the tweet where I pulled this up. He deleted the tweet, by the way. I'm talking about Kyle Clark. But Kyle Clark essentially blaming conservatives for hysteria when we were raising the point and problems about what was happening downtown. And now it's like restaurateurs are at their last little gasp. This is their last effort to try to get the mayor's attention. This is what Kyle Clark once tweeted, that people were cowering in the suburbs, cleaning their guns, peeking through the blinds. That was years ago. That was like 2022, 21, right around the BLM stuff when all the problems were happening down there. We're going, there's major issues with the city of Denver. And we were dismissed. Hysteria, cleaning your guns, cowering in the suburbs. Now you have jobs, businesses, dreams lost. You have people stabbed. You have a terrible downtown. And Mike Johnston's not the guy to clean it up. He's not going to change. This is just going to continue to get worse. You think this wakes Mike Johnston up, Bill?
Nah, probably not. Because I'm not certain that he's focused on this anyway. I'm not certain that this is.
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, I don't think this is necessarily an issue for him. I think that he has other things that he believes are going to push him to re-election. I don't think this is necessarily a consideration. And the problem is he's going to lose that tax base. And that's going to be a huge issue.
It's more than 50% of the budget for the city comes from sales revenue.
Yeah. But the problem that I've got, I understand that the restaurants are mad about the rising minimum wage. But I would love to see them be as equally upset with the rising cost of healthcare and rent and supplies. But I don't hear that. It's always about the people. And the reason that always going up and healthcare costs are going up and, regulations, they're causing a problem, and buying the supplies are a problem. But when I hear someone that is complaining about, oh my gosh, I'm paying my workers too much, what I'm hearing is, well, the one thing I don't want is for them to be able to get ahead. How dare they do that? How dare the workers be able to afford stuff? We had a call last year, and this is a different one, but we had a call last week, a guy that was getting all over me because of some of the money that Colorado had been taking from the government and the programs. And you were outlining the, hundreds of millions of dollars in programs that were here. And he was talking about how none of them directly benefited him. And it's that guy that I'm thinking of, that there was anger in his voice about the fact that he can't afford a car, that he can't afford to get out of the apartment he's in with a significant other and get into a house, that those opportunities are gone. And part of that is because of wages. The other part is I've spent a lot of time working in restaurants, and I know that the one thing that makes everything better are more customers. I'm pretty certain that these restaurants, even paying higher wages, if the tables were full, it wouldn't be as big of a deal.
No, I agree with you.
And that's the problem that I've got is,
but it's crime, man.
I know, but
nobody wants to go to that city.
Yep. And what makes me upset is when I hear the restaurateurs complaining about, the workers and this and this. No, it is external. The number one reason that you're having problems right now is external in my mind. And that is people not wanting to go downtown, the changes in how we work, and also crime. It is a layer of things. And the fact that we can't get more people back into downtown working for a large number of reasons is part of the problem. And then we can't create downtown affordable living either. And that's preventing a captured audience from being able to, within walking distance or even a bike ride, going to explore a lot of these restaurants. They're missing. I disagree with the idea, and I understand that.
Look, maybe at this point, you just got to let it die. That breaks my heart. I love the city of Denver. I grew up going down there, going to shows, going to restaurants. I remember when it was great. The Western Conservative Summit was down there. You could go to restaurants at night. It was a different city. And look, if Mike Johnston's not going to change it, if the voters of Denver aren't going to change it, it's got to follow its due natural course. I guess we let it die. Do we let Denver die? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplos Law text line, 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Jamal Bryant, a mega pastor in Atlanta, is being heavily criticized for what some are calling a hate-filled anti-MAGA sermon in which he said God will remove Republicans from government agencies if people praise him. Listen.
Come on, public enemy. I came to tell white supremacists. I came to tell MAGA. I came to tell white privilege. We coming, we coming, we coming. God said, when you give me glory, I'm going to run them out of the State Department. If you give me glory, I'm going to run them out of Congress and run them out of Senate. Shout like we got faith.
Thousands of workers across numerous federal health agencies were fired over the weekend, according to a letter that was revealed by one of the employees who was terminated. The letter states, quote, unfortunately, the agency finds that you are not fit for continued employment because your ability, knowledge, and skills do not fit the agency's current needs, and your performance has not been adequate to justify further employment at the agency. The letter was signed by Jeffrey Anoka, who is the acting head of human resources for HHS. According to reports, thousands of letters were sent out on Saturday. Some agencies have been granted exemptions, including the CDC's Epidemic Intelligence Service. In Dallas, Christina Owayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill. So I want to talk to you about my friends over at Mountain High Appliance. It's a new year, and it's time for you to get a kitchen upgrade. Save big during Mountain High's President's Day event going on now. Save up to $3,700 on premium kitchen and appliances. Premium KitchenAid appliances. KitchenAid has been a trusted name in homes and professional kitchens around the world for over 100 years. Built to last and made for those who love to cook. When you think appliances, think this President's Day, definitely think Mountain High Appliance. You got to check it out. Today's the day. It's President's Day, so check out their sale now. Think Mountain High Appliance. Let's go to Michael, Denver. Good morning, Michael. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning, guys. I just wanted to comment a little bit about Bill's comment that, small business people never talk about other costs besides labor. I've been a small businessman for over 50 years. I can tell you this. The biggest cost in a business is labor. Sometimes, at least in my business, it's 55 to 60% of the cost of doing business.
Yeah, that's
so
usual.
when a government tells you this is what you have to pay, it's going to put you out of business. These restaurants are going to leave Denver, and Denver is going to lose the tax base. And it's so unfortunate and unnecessary.
So you don't think that restaurants are never going to be able to pay more than that, more than minimum wage? What's the limit that restaurants are able to pay then? Because wages have gone up, so it's obvious that the restaurants can absorb increases in wages. So where's that Mendoza line that we no longer can? Because I heard this a couple of years ago in Seattle that their $15 minimum wage in downtown was going to kill the restaurant industry. It didn't at all.
Well, no. Well, it may not have alone killed the restaurant industry, but would you go eat dinner in downtown Seattle?
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I have.
It's too dangerous. Same thing in Denver. Let me tell you what the Mendoza line is.
Hang on. Let's stop there. Hang on. Let's stop there. Let's stop there, Michael. You were just talking about the problems as far as wages and things being the problem for businesses. Now you just went into the idea of crime and not wanting to go downtown because of that. That's where I was as far as you can't get people through the door. That's the problem. It's actual customers, not necessarily the wage they're paying to the workers. Because if you could fill every table, if you had a restaurant and you could fill every table at your restaurant, what you're paying the workers becomes a little bit less of an issue because you've got those tables full. Full tables create a lot inside the restaurant that you don't have to deal with.
Actually, it doesn't. It just decreases your profit. But here's the Mendoza line on wages.
No, it doesn't. Full tables doesn't decrease your profit.
Well, it is if you're paying way too much for your labor.
No, because more. So you're telling me more customers. So you're telling me more customers leads to less profit.
More customers leads to less profit if you're paying too much for your labor.
I disagree.
That's right, Bill.
Nope, I disagree, Michael, and here's why.
Okay,
because here's the idea. I'm paying that worker a set wage. Let's just say $15 an hour. I'm paying them to handle 2 tables. Now, instead, it's full, and I've got them handling 6. I'm still paying them the same wage, but my profit and the revenue into the business is increased.
But
so
it's
full
not
$15. Full. Hang on. I'm just using that as a marker. So at 15,
no, I know you are.
I know, Michael. I make more money if that server that is making $15 an hour takes care of 6 tables than 2. I make more money. The business makes more money. That's just how it works.
Well, not if you're paying that server $18.50 an hour. I don't care how many times.
Michael, you're paying the server $18.50 an hour. $18.50 an hour, 2 tables versus 6 tables. Where do you have more revenue?
Well, again, your costs are higher because of your labor costs.
No, it isn't. You're paying the guy the same hourly wage to handle 2 tables.
You want to hear the Mendoza line? You want to hear it?
Yep.
Quickly,
please.
Yep. Here's the Mendoza line real quickly. When people don't want to work at your restaurant for what you're willing to pay them, you'll pay them more. But when they are willing to work for what you're willing to pay them, you don't need the government to tell you how much that is. Very simple.
Yep. Michael, appreciate the call. Thanks so much. We got to get to a break. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Well, it normally takes us a few days to get back into the saddle, and boy, did we tick off the text messages today.
That was fun. All of y'all were a lot of fun.
I think we need to take a KNUS listeners trip to Moscow.
Yes, we do. Yes, I'm not going. They'll not let me leave because I will guarantee I do something there that's gonna get me in trouble, and I will not mean to, but I can't help myself. It'll happen.
Oh my gosh, I still can't get over it. Okay, guys, I literally built the International Religious Freedom Scorecard. I've been to the UN. I've worked with the U.S. State Department on promoting religious freedom. The idea that there's great land of religious freedom in Russia. Well, Baptist churches everywhere. Like like Montgomery.
Yeah.
Come on. Oh, it's not there. Believe me. And that doesn't mean I'm like totally Zelensky all the way. No, but be honest and reasonable.
When you get one choice of religion, you don't have religious freedom.
Well, they spent 80 years killing Christians and shutting down churches with the Soviet Union there. By the way, Putin coming from that old guard mentality is all of a sudden this great, like, yay.
Yeah.
Let's go evangelize on the street.
Oh, yeah. He's all about that.
Lee.
I know.
All right. Crazy. Well,
today's been fun though.
Feel free to text us. Lots of a management over here. So 0819-5115. You're listening to the Yesterday.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.